There are people who were never meant to become heroes, yet fate forces them to be. And Wang Lin is one of them. Born into an ordinary family, he carried a simple wish in his heart to cultivate immortality and repay his parents' kindness. But the world is never that kind. No talent, no background, no guidance, everything seemed to whisper to him, the path of cultivation is not for you. Yet in the midst of that hopelessness, Wang Lin chose something that very few have the courage to do. He kept going. He walked forward with stubbornness. He walked forward with longing. He walked forward with everything left in his resilient heart. A strange opportunity came to him, opening a path of cultivation drenched in blood and loneliness. There, every improvement required a sacrifice. Every step forward meant losing something precious. To grow stronger, he had to endure 100 times more than ordinary people. Renegade Immortal is the tale of a man who never submits. A man willing to defy the heavens, defy fate, and defy the world just to protect what his heart refuses to let go. This is not merely an immortal cultivation story. This is the journey of a soul so powerful that even eternity must bow. And today, I invite you to step into that journey, the journey of Wang Lin, the man who walks against the will of heaven to find the answer meant for himself. Fire is life because it has vitality. It has someone to light the fire. Death is death. A dead person is dead. A dead heart is also dead. Wang Lin traveled through the heavens and earth, his heart surging with emotion. He felt as if he had grasped a thread between life and death. Originally, his mental state was only 1 year away from reaching the God transformation stage, but now it had suddenly surged. Because he understood the meaning of life and death, he almost instantly reached the requirements of God transformation. It could be said that at this moment, if Wang Lin wished, he could immediately achieve God transformation. However, this was not the right place for him to achieve God transformation. Wang Lin suppressed the excitement in his heart and increased his flying speed. So, Brother Moji's mental state is that the mind is dead, hence the realm of departure. The reason might be that the mind has reached an extremely high level, leading to self-destruction. But death here means forgetting all words. All that remains is the word Tao. Wang Lin took a deep breath. MCC Tri is certainly an extraordinary person. The enlightenment experienced by Wang Lin in the rain at the temple allowed his mental state to reach the nascent soul realm. At this moment, he was fully qualified to become a nascent soul cultivator. The nascent soul stage represents the first point of differentiation in strength among all levels of cultivators. This is because once a cultivator reaches the nascent soul stage, they shift from cultivating the physical body to cultivating their mental state. They use understanding of the heavenly Tao as a foundation to utilize the power of heaven and earth. The realm of understanding is the most important aspect for nascent soul cultivators. Due to different understandings, the realms of understanding also differ. It can be said that there are countless realms of understanding in the world. Among these realms, there are also varying degrees of strength. Although those who can understand the realm of understanding to the highest level are not far apart, the initial differences can still affect their future cultivation progress. Therefore, the strength of a nascent soul cultivator comes from their comprehension. If they understand even a trivial aspect of the heavenly Tao, they may be stronger than a nascent soul cultivator, but they cannot compare to other nascent soul cultivators. In fact, if Wang Lin wanted to achieve nascent soul, he could have done so when he sculpted the first statue of the White Cloud sect. However, that artistic conception did not originate from within him, but rather followed the path of others. After that, even if he could achieve nascent soul, he would almost certainly be unable to break through in this lifetime. The possibility of reaching the nascent soul stage was too far-fetched. Without his own artistic conception, he would ultimately not understand nature. And how could he possibly surpass it? There are two methods for cultivators to reach nascent soul. The first method is to imitate artistic conception. This method is much simpler than the second, but very few nascent soul cultivators are willing to reveal their artistic conception to others. Therefore, this type of method can only be obtained from within the sect itself when a nascent soul cultivator reaches the great perfection stage. The second method relies on oneself to comprehend the heavenly Tao, using one's enlightened mind to create one's own mental state. This method is very difficult, requiring immense willpower and good fortune to succeed. However, if one can successfully comprehend their own mental state, the path ahead will be extremely wide open. In other words, most people strive to find their own mental state. Only when they fail to comprehend it do cultivators reluctantly choose the first method. After all, the difference between the two methods is enormous. That difference, from beginning to end, is impossible to bridge. But not many people can understand the mental state. Therefore, in the end, most cultivators choose the first method. That is also why, even among cultivators at the nascent soul stage, some are killed while others survive. Back then in Zhao Kingdom, the great lord of the fourth-tier cultivation nation chose the first method to achieve nascent soul. Therefore, upon seeing Wang Lin possess such a powerful magical artifact, they chose to flee. However, nothing in this world is absolute. There are some cultivators who use the first method and eventually manage to break through to the nascent soul stage. But such people are truly few. Moreover, even if they reach the nascent soul stage, it's only at a low level. Therefore, cultivators who choose the divine transformation method all aim to rely on elixirs, hoping to use them to improve their cultivation. But how easily can elixirs containing immortal energy be obtained? Wang Lin quickly flew through the rain to the location of the teleportation array. A flash of light appeared, and then his body disappeared. At this point, Wang Lin didn't stop for a moment. After exiting the teleportation array, he used all his speed to fly to the next ancient teleportation array. A month later, in a mountain valley on the border of Zhao Kingdom, a faint light of spiritual energy slowly emanated. After the light faded, a young man emerged from the valley. He was none other than Wang Lin. Looking at the land before him, Wang Lin felt a pang of emotion. Zhao Kingdom was not large, so Wang Lin's divine consciousness could quickly grasp the situation. After several devastating calamities, the cultivation world of Zhao Kingdom was in a state of utter devastation. The continuous deaths of several late-stage nascent soul cultivators had shaken Zhao Kingdom to its core. For the past few decades, all remaining sects had been isolated and refused to venture outside. A rumor circulated in Zhao Kingdom's cultivation world concerning Wang Lin. To this day, that rumor remained, striking fear into countless cultivators who heard it. Especially those who had seen Wang Lin, after regaining their composure, felt a chill run down their spines. At the heart of Zhao Kingdom stood the Tongshan Tower, now deserted. The tower was completely empty. After a moment's thought, Wang Lin flew towards the former location of the Hengyu sect, which is now the location of the Xuandao sect. This was where he entered the cultivation world and where he chose to achieve the god transformation stage. When he appeared outside the Xuandao sect, he saw only a white mist covering the entire mountain. Even the mountain path had disappeared. The Xuandao sect had closed its doors and remained uninvolved in worldly affairs for several years. Wang Lin sighed softly. He didn't bother to make a fuss or summon anyone. With a slight movement of his body, he vanished. When he reappeared, he was behind the Xuandao sect's mountain. He had spent 4 years in seclusion there years ago. At this time, although there were cultivators present, there weren't many. How could they possibly detect Wang Lin's appearance? There were countless caves on the cliffs behind the mountain. Wang Lin quickly found the place where he had secluded himself years ago and entered. His cave dwelling was unoccupied. After Wang Lin entered, the rocks outside the cave dwelling collapsed. Sitting cross-legged inside, Wang Lin looked around. Familiar scenes flashed through his memory. After a while, he sighed softly and closed his eyes. 10 days later, Wang Lin had adjusted his state. Then, he formed a hand seal and placed it in front of his chest. Instantly, his complexion changed from green to red and vice versa. Slowly, his body split in two. The main body emerged from the clone, with white hair and a cold face. A strange light flickered on his forehead. The main body's cultivation remained at the late stage of the core formation realm. Without evolving the extreme realm, the main body's cultivation could not increase. Although combining with the clone could allow the extreme realm to achieve the effect of a nascent soul, it still had drawbacks and was not a long-term solution. As for the clone, its cultivation was on the verge of reaching the god transformation stage. Since forming the golden core, the clone's shortcomings had disappeared, making it almost indistinguishable from the main body. At the time of approaching god transformation, if the main body and the clone had merged together, it would certainly have had an impact on the transformation process. Therefore, Wang Lin separated the main body and the clone at this time. Wang Lin pondered in silence. If it were just that, the impact wouldn't be too great. For many years, there had been a problem that prevented him from calmly making a decision. At this moment, after understanding the meaning of life and death, along with the enlightenment he gained at the temple, his understanding of life and death had become even deeper. His hesitant state of mind finally became resolute. The main body clearly couldn't follow the same path as the clone. Therefore, the extreme realm had to separate. The ancient god Tao was the main body's true choice. Wang Lin pondered for a moment, then sat down cross-legged. The main body also sat down, its hands forming a hand seal. Slowly, a green mist enveloped the main body and the clone. First, the main body had to disperse its energy. A little spiritual power fluctuated within the main body's body, his face showing pain, but his eyes still revealed determination. Slowly, drops of fresh blood seeped out through his pores. The drops of blood didn't stick to his clothes but appeared outside his body. Countless drops of blood slowly formed around him, their number increasing rapidly. His complexion gradually turned pale. His cultivation level, which had been at the late stage of the golden core, began to decline. 10 days later, he looked no different from an old man. Besides his cultivation level dropping to the early stage of the golden core, the blood droplets outside his body had merged together, forming a blood-red glow. Suddenly, a cracking sound rang out. His golden core shattered, transforming into weak streams of spiritual energy that ran rampant throughout his body. At this moment, the clone's eyes flashed, and he pointed his right hand at his forehead. Instantly, the spiritual energy in his body seemed to find an escape route and surged out from his forehead. All of that spiritual power condensed on the clone's fingertips. Gradually, a stream of yellow liquid was drawn out from the main body's forehead by the clone. In an instant, the main body became listless, but his eyes remained extremely calm. Then, a ray of spiritual power slowly emerged from the main body's skeleton and body. The spiritual power slowly condensed in the Danshin, forming a circle of light. This was also a basic sign of a cultivator and a sign of the foundation establishment stage. The circle of light slowly brightened, becoming increasingly radiant. At this moment, Wang Lin's fingertips moved again, pointing at the main body's Danshin. Instantly, the main body's body trembled. The circle of light immediately disappeared, transforming into streams of spiritual power emerging from the Danshin and condensing on the clone's fingertips. Immediately afterwards, my cultivation level, as if losing its barrier, began to rapidly decline from the 14th to the 13th to the 12th to the 8th to the 6th level of the Ched condensation stage, and then back to the first level. At this moment, the spiritual power in the main body's meridians had completely vanished. His body slumped against the cliff, panting heavily. However, his eyes remained calm. A red lightning bolt flashed in his eyes. The clone took a deep breath. Then, he pointed his finger at the main body's eyes. Instantly, the red lightning bolt emerged. After leaving the main body's eyes, it was about to escape when the clone shouted loudly, his hands quickly moving, transforming into a circle of light that trapped the lightning bolt. Then, he raised his hand and grabbed it. Instantly, the red lightning bolt let out a reluctant hiss and slowly stopped. The clone's hand grasped the red lightning bolt. After applying some force, the lightning bolt transformed into a drop of blood. Glancing at it, Wang Lin threw it into his storage bag. That drop of red blood was the extreme realm. The main body abandoned its cultivation and forced out the extreme realm. Then it transformed into a kind of magical artifact. Immediately, the main body took a deep breath, tried to sit cross-legged, and closed its eyes. At this moment, Wang Lin's right hand pointed, and the spiritual power formed from the foundation establishment halo shot out, merging into the main body's body. Then, the yellow liquid formed from the golden core shot out, entering the main body's body. The abundant spiritual power quickly circulated within the main body, but the main body had no intention of cultivating. Instead, it activated the ancient god technique. Instantly, that spiritual power was absorbed by the entire body and bones. During the absorption process, a red light surrounded the main body. Slowly, a pink stream of energy entered the main body. This process took a long time. At this moment, the main body Wang Lin and his clone were on two completely different paths. The main body's cultivation follows the path of the ancient gods. The clone's cultivation follows the path of the innate. Both are still the same body of Wang Lin, nothing different. However, before reaching the peak of mastery, the main body and clone can only merge for a short time and cannot maintain the connection for an extended period. But once merged, their strength increases several times. A series of changes are taking place within his body. In fact, the main body has already reached the first level standard of the ancient gods. From here, he can be considered to have stepped onto the path of the ancient gods. However, because Wang Lin lacked determination before, the path of the ancient gods has been extremely difficult to begin. But now, after his enlightenment in the ancient temple and understanding the meaning of life and death, Wang Lin has grasped the wondrous realm between life and death. Therefore, he has made up his mind for the main body to follow the path of the ancient gods. Wang Lin looked at the main body, which was in the process of cultivating, and pondered for a moment. Suddenly, he potted his storage bag. Instantly, several blood-killing spheres flew out. His eyes flashed, and with a flick of his right finger, the blood-killing spheres flew to the top of his main body and descended. His snow-white hair instantly turned red. His entire body's killing intent immediately reached its peak. At this moment, his main body's appearance bore a slight resemblance to that of the ancient god. After absorbing all the spiritual power, his main body suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes had no pupils, only two streams of red light combined with his hair, making him look like an ancient demon lord. Wang Lin and his main body smiled, but those smiles conveyed different feelings. The clone's smile exuded elegance, while his main body's smile contained a hint of bloodlust. Wang Lin patted his storage bag. Instantly, more than half of the 100 jade bottles that Li Muan had prepared for him flew out. As soon as the pills appeared, he immediately opened his mouth and inhaled. Immediately, all the jade bottles exploded, and the pills inside flew into his mouth, transforming into spiritual power that flowed throughout his body. The ancient god technique within him quickly activated. All the spiritual power from the pills began to condense within his body. Gradually, his body became harder and harder, even resembling a block of iron. Finally, golden threads emerged from his pores. His clothes instantly turned into smoke. The golden threads, after the pills entered his mouth and were activated by the ancient god technique, multiplied. Finally, they swirled around his body, forming a large golden cocoon. A powerful oppressive aura emanated from within the cocoon. Within the oppressive aura lay a powerful life force, like a beating heart emitting a loud sound. However, these sounds were inaudible to outsiders. Only the clone could perceive them. The clone glanced at the cocoon where the main body resided, then sat down cross-legged to meditate and act as a guardian. After 13 days, the cocoon's rhythm grew faster and faster, like someone beating a drum. Finally, as the sound intensified, a crack appeared on the golden cocoon. The cracks multiplied and grew larger, eventually spreading throughout the cocoon. Streams of purple light emanated from within, blinding the onlookers. A crisp sound echoed from within the cocoon. Immediately afterward, from the largest crack, a hand with bronze-colored skin emerged. Then, the main body crawled out of the cocoon. His hair, a blood-red color, cascaded over his shoulders. At the center of Wang Lin's forehead, two purple points of light, like the Tai Chi symbol, slowly rotated. His eyes no longer held the red light, they were completely inward. However, upon closer inspection, a hint of blood could still be seen in his gaze. Ancient god body refining. After absorbing countless elixirs, Wang Lin's cultivation finally reached its second transformation. Each time the ancient god underwent a transformation, his spiritual power increased countless times compared to before. But the higher he went, the greater the difficulty. After his main body appeared, he silently looked towards his clone. A glint of light flashed in the clone's eyes. He potted his storage bag with his right hand, and instantly a flying sword appeared in the air. He pointed his finger, and the flying sword hurtled towards his main body. His main body didn't dodge, allowing the flying sword to approach. The moment the flying sword neared his body, a series of metallic clanging sounds rang out, with sparks flying. The main body's expression remained unchanged. With a flick of his right hand, he seized the flying sword. With a crack, the flying sword split in two, its light gone, resembling nothing more than a pile of scrap metal. Both the clone and the main body smiled with satisfaction. After a moment of contemplation, the main body lightly stepped down, and his body slowly sank and disappeared. According to the ancient god diagram's memories, a newly born ancient god cannot become a true ancient god without undergoing a trial within the planet's core. Therefore, after Wang Lin allowed the main body to embark on the path of an ancient god, he made his decision. the main body continued to sink. The pressure of the surrounding earth had reached a certain level. For other cultivators, that pressure would be incredibly terrifying. But for the main body, even with the added power of the ancient god technique, it was still bearable. Thus, the main body continued to sink. Even Wang Lin didn't know how far he had burrowed. He didn't know how much longer it would take to reach the center of the vermilion bird star. According to Wang Lin's preliminary calculations, he probably hadn't even burrowed 1/6 of the way down. But this was the limit he could endure. If he continued any longer, his body would surely be destroyed. After all, in ancient times, whenever a new ancient god was born, they would enter the center of the planet. But before that, they would all receive a drop of fresh blood from a mature ancient god to help them. That's why they could safely enter the center of the planet and withstand the immense pressure. His main body sat cross-legged deep underground, silently breathing in the air. Unless his clone faced a life-or-death crisis, he would stay here. If he moved, it would only be to descend further down, all the way to the center of the vermilion bird star, to achieve the Tao of ancient god. However, becoming a true ancient god was extremely difficult. Ancient gods must endure 3 great losses and go through 7 lifetimes. Each time presents a trial, and each trial involves facing life-or-death situations. Moreover, without sufficient time, they cannot be completed. Furthermore, what is unbearable is the solitude. Cultivating alone requires enduring solitude, becoming a habit, and ultimately, one must gnaw at it. Moreover, the disappearance of the ancient gods placed a heavy burden on Wang Lin's heart. In the distant past, after Tut's death, something unimaginable happened. It caused the immortal realm to cease to exist. Ancient immortals vanished, and the ancient gods perished. This catastrophe even involved the ancient cultivation world, causing celestial and earthly anomalies, leading to the emergence of the Cultivation Alliance. Although everything was a long time away from Wang Lin, if anyone knew that his main body was cultivating the ancient god Tao, then that distance would no longer be so great. Therefore, Wang Lin knew he couldn't let anyone know that he had a main body cultivating the ancient god Tao. Otherwise, he would surely face disaster. After his main body remained silent for a while, Wang Lin sat cross-legged in his cave dwelling, looking up. His gaze seemed to penetrate the stone walls and see the sky. Transformation into a god, Wang Lin softly uttered. He stretched out his arms, and the life and death intent within him slowly spread out, diffusing behind the mountain, spreading to the Zhuandao sect, creating ripples. Gradually, the life and death intent continued to spread. Finally, the entire Zhao kingdom was enveloped by Wang Lin's life and death intent. He slowly closed his eyes, silently sensing the Tao of heaven, contemplating the scene between life and death. At this moment, throughout the entire Zhao kingdom, whether humans or cultivators, no matter what they were doing, everyone felt something. Ordinary people would only feel something unusual, but cultivators immediately felt terrified. In the Zhao kingdom, the number of nascent soul cultivators was dwindling. Everyone's expressions changed, and they flew out of their sects to search for the source of that feeling. But with their cultivation level, they could only sense it, not investigate. And needless to say, even the cultivators in the Zhuandao sect didn't know that the shocking feeling was behind the mountain. At this moment, Wang Lin also sensed everyone's state of mind. They were all in a state of panic and bewilderment and fear. All these emotions resonated within him. Slowly, the clouds in the sky disappeared. At this moment, the entire Zhao kingdom was devoid of wind and clouds, filled only with profound peace. This peace was amplified by the eerie atmosphere of life and death, calming both humans and cultivators. From the emperor to the common people, everyone felt an uncontrollable urge to kneel in one direction. Even cultivators of various sects, regardless of their cultivation level, were no exception. A sense of quiet gradually spread. A few nascent soul cultivators realized that the source of the celestial changes originated from the Zhuandao sect. Within the Zhuandao sect, several nascent soul cultivators were standing in midair, ordering all their disciples to leave and kneel in all directions. These nascent soul cultivators also felt uneasy. They secretly suspected that there was a god transformation cultivator present. However, this speculation was too shocking for them to confirm. But while they had never witnessed such a celestial anomaly, it was described in ancient texts. Although slightly different, this feeling, apart from the nascent soul stage, was unique. At this moment, all the nascent soul cultivators of Zhao Kingdom were filled with a question. Who was this person who had reached the nascent soul stage here? Why was he in Zhao Kingdom? Could this person be from Zhao Kingdom? This speculation filled everyone with ecstatic joy, a feeling they had never experienced before. Wang Lin sat cross-legged in his cave dwelling. 7-colored light emanated from his body. The radiance gave him an air of immortal grace and nobility. Slowly, a small figure identical to Wang Lin rose from above his head. That small figure was indeed his nascent soul. The nascent soul slowly ascended. After flying out from above Wang Lin's head, it immediately extended its hand, performing the same movements as its body. Even the consecutive incantations were identical. Instantly, the spiritual energy in the heavens and earth seemed to find a path, rushing in and forming a large vortex behind the Xuandao Sex Mountain. The vortex, visible to the naked eye, resembled a funnel, its diameter increasing from bottom to top. At this moment, a strange phenomenon appeared in the sky. A black hole appeared within 1,000 miles. Rays of light flashed from within the black hole. Wang Lin also noticed this. The nascent soul immediately looked up. 2 beams of light shot from its eyes, piercing through the rock wall and into the black hole. His spirit was suddenly shaken. The world within the black hole was unexpectedly a fragment of the ancient god's pre-death memories, and it was also the space outside the vermilion bird star. When a cultivator reaches the god transformation stage, the nascent soul undergoes a series of evolutions. The entire process requires a massive amount of spiritual power. Therefore, in this situation, one can utilize the mental state to open a passage to the outside, absorbing spiritual power and successfully achieving the god transformation stage. This is a rare opportunity that every god transformation cultivator gets. When the black hole appeared, all the nascent soul cultivators of Zhao Kingdom who had consulted the ancient texts immediately confirmed that there was indeed a god transformation cultivator in Zhao Kingdom. The spiritual power within the black hole surged out like a great flood. All the spiritual power was absorbed by the vortex at Wang Lin's location, and after a series of transformations, it entered the nascent soul above Wang Lin's head. Gradually, the nascent soul's body emitted a 7-colored light. That light grew brighter and brighter, enveloping the entire area behind the mountain. Before long, the Xuandao sect was also enveloped in the 7-colored light. At this moment, the cultivators all around were extremely excited, their eyes filled with undisguised fervor. Witnessing a nascent soul cultivator achieve the god transformation stage once in a lifetime is like finding a treasure. It even brings immense benefits to their own cultivation. This wasn't because Wang Lin chose to achieve the god transformation stage in Zhao Kingdom. The main reason was that the path to god transformation had already left a significant mark on the cultivation world of Zhao Kingdom. This was even more profound for nascent soul cultivators. At this moment, the nascent souls within their bodies were undergoing a sublimation. Suddenly, all the nascent souls emerged from their bodies, sitting cross-legged on top of their heads to begin absorbing energy. Wang Lin's nascent soul absorbed spiritual power, causing the 7-colored light around him to brighten even more before slowly rising higher. The appearance of the black hole in the sky made the ordinary people of Zhao Kingdom even more reverent. At this moment, it was as if a wave of divine power descended, leaving them with no distracting thoughts, only eye and fear of the divine power. The closer the cities were to the black hole, the deeper this feeling was for the ordinary people. Especially in the villages right next to the black hole, all the children stared blankly at the sky. If there were cultivators there, they would immediately see a faint light above the children's heads pointing towards the black hole in the sky. In fact, in the 4th level cultivation kingdoms, whenever a cultivator reaches the nascent soul stage, they choose their hometown. Because at the time of nascent soul, the passage connecting to the outside world opens, causing a transformation in those around. If they don't have a spiritual root, they can even develop acquired spiritual root. This is also why the 4th level cultivation kingdoms completely surpass the 3rd level cultivation kingdoms. Because each time a cultivator achieves the god transformation stage, countless people with the potential to cultivate the Tao appear in the country. Wang Lin was unaware of all this. At this moment, he was completely immersed in the realm of life and death, feeling the meaning of the heavenly Tao. As more and more spiritual power was absorbed, Wang Lin's nascent soul soared higher and higher, reaching the ceiling of the cave. Then, without encountering any obstruction, it passed through and flew behind the mountain. At this moment, All the surrounding cultivators witnessed a scene they would never forget in their lives. Before their eyes, they saw a small figure sitting cross-legged in a seven-colored light slowly rising into the air. As soon as the nascent soul appeared, the surrounding spiritual power surged like a flood, enveloping it. Immediately afterward, the nascent soul's hands slowly moved, forming a strange ancient incantation. The entire process took a long time. With spiritual energy infused into his body, Wang Lin's nascent soul's hands moved faster and faster, almost creating afterimages. Gradually, the seven-colored light surrounding the nascent soul's body subsided, eventually disappearing completely. Immediately afterward, Wang Lin's nascent soul suddenly became transparent, as if it could vanish at any moment. At this time, the black hole in the sky spewed out one last burst of spiritual energy, then slowly closed and disappeared. That final burst of spiritual energy transformed into a long dragon. It let out a roar and flew down from the sky, merging with the nascent soul. At this moment, an unusual aura emanated from the nascent soul. The transparent nascent soul's body slowly became visible. Its body gradually grew larger, eventually reaching a certain height. Upon closer inspection, it was indistinguishable from Wang Lin's physical body. Wang Lin's nascent soul slowly opened his eyes. There was no color in them, only a cold, detached light. At this moment, all the nascent souls witnessing this scene had the illusion that the nascent soul in the sky had transcended, becoming something mysterious. His gaze seemed to be looking down at the earth. Whether human or cultivator, they all saw only a coldness, as if nothing in the world interested him. The crucial point for a nascent soul cultivator is the sublimation of the nascent soul into a nascent spirit. An immortal nascent spirit means the body is eternally indestructible. That is the very essence of the heavenly Tao. At this moment, Wang Lin's nascent soul, after being transformed by spiritual power, had become a nascent spirit. If the nascent soul was a mere child, now it was not only enormous, but also possessed the power of heaven and earth, forming a nascent spirit. That was precisely the terrifying aspect of a nascent soul cultivator. The magical techniques of a nascent soul cultivator are imbued with profound insights, stemming from the existence of the primordial spirit. It can be said that the primordial spirit is formed from these insights, originating from the nascent soul and nurtured by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Because of the existence of the primordial spirit, the power of a nascent soul cultivator far surpasses that of a nascent soul cultivator. This is similar to the difference between a nascent soul cultivator and a golden core cultivator. The difference in cultivation levels is not just a small gap. Humans absorb spiritual energy from heaven and earth, causing their physical bodies to change. Gradually, as the spiritual energy in the body increases, after the physical transformation reaches a certain level, a qualitative change occurs. This change is called foundation establishment. According to the heavenly Tao, foundation establishment cannot rely on external forces. Everything must be achieved through one's own cultivation. Only then can it align with the path of cultivation, which is inherently defying the heavens. However, the difficulty of foundation establishment is so great that the heaven-defying elixir, the foundation establishment pill, has emerged. Gradually, over time, very few cultivators in the cultivation world can achieve foundation establishment without needing a foundation establishment pill. Although it doesn't conform to the standards of the heavenly Tao, according to the Cultivation Alliance, the heavenly Tao is dead and cultivation is defying heaven. Therefore, for a long time, no one bothered to research its fundamentals. After foundation establishment, the body becomes more suitable for breathing and absorbing spiritual power. However, after reaching a certain level, obstacles arise. This is why the process of core formation occurs. The purpose of core formation is to compress the spiritual power within the body. Compression causes the spiritual power to begin to take shape from its state of uncertainty, from gas to liquid, and then from liquid to solidified into a golden core. This process is very difficult for cultivators, but not absolutely impossible. If one has sufficient talent, it is obviously a little easier. The appearance of the golden core reduces the pressure on the divine body. Then they continue to absorb spiritual energy from the heavens and earth. From this point on, the spiritual energy continuously condenses into the golden core. Gradually, the golden core becomes harder and harder, and the spiritual energy contained within surpasses all imagination. At this point, a golden core cultivator is like a god compared to a foundation establishment cultivator. they are essentially unstoppable. The reason for this is the difference in spiritual energy. After a golden core cultivator undergoes years of cultivation and absorption, their body once again encounters an obstacle. This is also when their cultivation reaches the late golden core stage. At this point, simply absorbing energy is no longer enough to solve the problem. Therefore, the cultivator must undergo a second transformation. Although this transformation cannot be considered a complete one, for the cultivator, it is an earth-shattering change. It can be considered that the cultivator has taken a step onto the path of defying heaven. The golden core shatters, and the nascent soul is born. The term Nuyen and primordial spirit originates from the fact that Nuyen signifies beginning, containing within it the word Hyen. The word Hyen refers to the shattering of the golden core, giving birth to the nascent spirit. One undergoes a mysterious transformation, while the other transcends and changes. This entire process is similar to human conception and birth. This is also the natural order of heaven. The golden core is like a 9-month Henday pregnancy before a new life is born. This new life is called an child. Hence, the term Nuyen and primordial spirit appears. Taoist cultivation follows this principle. The shattering of the golden core gives rise to a new N. It then continuously reproduces, transmigrating and being reborn. The nascent spirit, upon its appearance, absorbs spiritual power far beyond that of the golden core, a realm beyond comparison. After obtaining the nascent spirit body, one can escape the cycle of reincarnation capable of challenging heaven and possessing the ability to defy heaven. When the nascent spirit reaches a certain level, it becomes the transformation god. To achieve the god transformation stage is extremely difficult and requires even greater talent. The key is understanding the heavenly Tao. A cultivator who has reached the nascent soul stage is qualified to contend with heaven. This qualification is precious, but qualification alone is not enough. To contend with heaven, one must transcend reincarnation, understand the heavenly Tao, and comprehend reincarnation. Only by understanding the laws of the heavenly Tao can one find a way to defy heaven. This kind of thing is incredibly mysterious. If one cannot understand the heavenly Tao, no matter how much spiritual power one absorbs, it is all in vain, only slightly better than a child. Even with the sharpest divine weapon in hand, if one cannot use it, it is wasted. Even if one tries to use it to injure an enemy, one will inevitably injure oneself. But understanding the heavenly Tao and grasping its essence is like a child who has the strength to wield a weapon. Then it uses its own strength. Only by understanding the heavenly Tao can one make the weapon use itself naturally. Only then is it worthy of the title of Transformation God. Being able to use the weapon clearly surpasses humans, surpassing other cultivators. It transcends to another realm that only deities can equal. However, that deity is not yet the deity described in the scriptures. It is merely a bit of thought, a kind of inner transformation, reaching a mystical realm. Because that realm has similarities to the deities described in the scriptures, the term transformation god gradually appeared. But the power a newborn child possesses is still insufficient. They can only wield weapons and cannot sustain them for long. After all, newborns don't have much physical strength. That's why the primordial spirit appears. As the child grows, their body naturally gains more strength, which is the primordial spirit. To condense the primordial spirit, besides the realm of consciousness, one also needs divine consciousness. The realm of consciousness and divine consciousness combine into one, thus a god naturally appears. That is the primordial spirit. As for the power to wield weapons, that is the power of heaven and earth. A nascent soul cultivator can wield weapons, while a nascent soul cultivator doesn't possess the power of heaven and earth, which is one of the reasons they are called gods. The power of heaven and earth varies depending on each person's understanding of the realm of consciousness. Wang Lin's primordial spirit is a prime example of this. After silently observing heaven and earth for a while, the primordial spirit slowly descended, sinking into the cliff. After returning to the cave, it descended onto Wang Lin's head and slowly merged with him. Finally, it perfectly combined with his body. At this moment, all the spiritual power in Wang Lin's body disappeared, merging with his primordial spirit. After a while, Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were exactly like those of a newborn child, clear black and white, carrying a hint of spiritual energy. Wang Lin took a deep breath, raised his right hand, and grasped at the void. Instantly, a spatial rift appeared before him, blowing out gusts of cold wind, as if it could extinguish life at once. The ability to gently tear open space was only possible within the body of an ancient god. Otherwise, even if Wang Lin could do it, he would have to use up all his spiritual power. The cold wind blowing from the spatial rift was the wind of annihilation. A nascent soul cultivator would need to exert all their strength to resist it. A golden core cultivator would be fundamentally unable to resist it. If he saw it, he had to quickly get away, unless he had a magic treasure to counteract it. Even before reaching the god transformation stage, although Wang Lin wasn't afraid of that wind, he still felt uncomfortable. Only when he entered the crack did he feel unbearable discomfort. That's why, back then, when he fought those people and they tore open space to escape, Wang Lin didn't dare chase after them. But at this moment, the wind had no effect on Wang Lin whatsoever. Even if he were to enter it, he wouldn't be injured. He smiled and his right hand reached into the crack. After pulling it out, several points of light appeared in his hand. Looking at those points of light, Wang Lin thought for a moment and then crushed them. He stood up straight and walked forward. The stone block sealing the cave entrance suddenly exploded. Emerging from the cave, Wang Lin glanced around and saw all the cultivators of the Xuandao sect kneeling in the distance. Further out, almost all the sect's cultivators were also kneeling. Wang Lin's gaze swept across everyone. Among them, he recognized many familiar faces. Suddenly, Wang Lin froze, his gaze falling upon a man in white robes with a somewhat handsome appearance. After observing him for a moment, Wang Lin smiled. Upon closer inspection, his smile became even brighter. 40 years to reach the late foundation establishment stage. Excellent, Wang Lin murmured. The middle-aged man stared at Wang Lin, bewildered. He felt as if he knew this person very well, but no matter how hard he thought, he couldn't recall who he was. When the man looked at him, it suddenly jolted him, as if something from his memory had flashed through his mind. A series of images suddenly appeared in his head. It seemed he and this man had once been fellow disciples, but immediately he shook his head. That thought was too absurd. He took a deep breath and hurriedly bowed his head. At this moment, a nascent soul cultivator gritted his teeth and flew up. When he was about 100 feet away from Wang Lin, he knelt down and said tremblingly, "Senior, are you from Zhao Kingdom?" As soon as the words were spoken, all the cultivators around almost held their breath, all silent. Their eyes burned with intensity as they looked at Wang Lin. Even the middle-aged man looked up. Although Wang Lin's appearance now was slightly different from the killer from back then, his aura was completely different. It was no wonder these people couldn't recognize him. Although some secretly guessed, they only dared to think it and not say it out loud. A third-level cultivation kingdom needs a nascent soul cultivator to become a fourth-level one. This person must be born in the country. Fourth-level cultivation kingdoms have a type of divine magic that can detect origin. That magic was passed down from the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Unless one's cultivation level surpasses that of the cultivators of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, it's very difficult to conceal it. More importantly, a nascent soul cultivator must stay in the country for 100 years before being reported and assigned a rank. Obviously, Wang Lin couldn't accept that condition. The old man's words made Wang Lin ponder for a moment before saying, "I am a resident here, but I cannot settle here for 100 years. I'm sorry." The old man's body trembled, revealing disappointment. And it wasn't just him. All the cultivators around felt the same way. High expectations sometimes lead to great disappointment. Wang Lin sighed softly. He flicked his right hand, and 10 luminous spheres appeared. He pondered for a moment, then threw them. The 10 luminous spheres separated and flew towards the 10 cultivators, merging into their bodies. For a moment, the bodies of the 10 cultivators trembled, their faces showing pain. But the pain wasn't too great. After only a few breaths, their faces showed a mixture of joy and fear. The middle-aged man in white also received a sphere. "Although I can't be here, I can still give you 10 spiritual energy seeds. It won't lessen your cultivation difficulties, but it will give you an opportunity. If any of you 10 can reach the late nascent soul stage, I will know and come to enlighten you once," Wang Lin said calmly. After saying this, he looked at the middle-aged man in white and smiled. The spiritual energy seeds he had left in that man's body were completely different from those of the others. They could protect his life 3 times. After all, it was a nascent soul cultivator who had condensed 10 spiritual energy seeds. Their value was unimaginable. The middle-aged man looked at Wang Lin in astonishment. The familiar feeling in his head grew stronger and stronger. But when he tried to remember, a sudden pain shot through his head. The pain intensified, exceeding his endurance. At that moment, a wave of warmth emanated from the seed of spiritual power. After his breath passed, the pain disappeared. His body trembled continuously, drenched in sweat. Don't try to remember. Wait until you reach the nascent soul stage. You will surely remember your past life. Knowing too much now will only bring you suffering. A gentle voice echoed in his mind. He was startled and looked up. At this moment, Wang Lin was standing opposite him, smiling. Wang Lin took a deep breath and glanced around. If nothing unexpected happened in the future, when someone in Zhao Kingdom reached the late nascent soul stage, he would return one last time. His body slowly rose into the air and gradually disappeared into the horizon. All the cultivators looked up. Among them, the middle-aged man's eyes held a resolute determination. I must reach the nascent soul stage, absolutely. At that moment, something suddenly descended from the sky. Everyone looked up and saw a wooden statue fall onto the peak of Mount Hang, then merge into it. Instantly, the entire mountain was filled with spiritual energy. That object will protect the Zhao Kingdom from 3 invasions by other cultivation nations of the same level. Make your own arrangements. From afar, a voice echoed. This was Wang Lin's final act for the Zhao Kingdom, remembering the tragic fate of the Four-Sect Alliance. For the next few hundred years, the wooden statue would exempt the Zhao Kingdom from 3 invasions. All the foreign cultivators present had originally pushed the Zhao Kingdom cultivators to the brink of ruin, but this happened at the last moment. All the Zhao Kingdom cultivators came here, calling it a sacred mountain and kneeling in worship. Immediately, the sacred mountain, under the mockery of the cultivators from other countries, emitted a gentle light. This light enveloped Zhao Kingdom, extinguishing the laughter of all the other cultivators. After the light vanished, all the cultivators from the other 3-level cultivation nations perished. In the Juming Valley of Zhao Kingdom, the air was filled with sunshine and wind. The clouds in the sky seemed as if the scene of the nascent soul stage had never happened. Every few decades, Juming Valley opens for people to enter and search for treasures in the outer battlefield. Wang Lin appeared outside the valley. He stood beside a cliff, observing the scenery inside for a while, then sighed softly. With a flick of his right hand, a spatial rift more than 3 meters long appeared in the air. Upon closer inspection, the location of the rift was identical to the location where Wang Lin's body had self-destructed years ago. After achieving the God transformation stage, Wang Lin's first priority was to find the spatial rift in his storage bag that had formed during his self-destruction and then reassemble it. The other items in the storage bag weren't particularly important. However, the sword sheath was extremely crucial to Wang Lin. He now possessed 2 sheaths. Wang Lin still felt that these sheaths concealed a great secret. His body moved slightly, and he instantly appeared outside the rift. A gust of life-destroying wind blew out from within, but this wind had no effect on Wang Lin. He placed his right hand into the rift. Under the perception of his primordial spirit, he saw a series of bright points of light within. From the rift, they flew out, condensing and merging together. In an instant, a storage bag appeared before Wang Lin. Wang Lin's divine consciousness swept through the storage bag, noticing that it was not entirely intact. Only half of its original contents remained. The sword sheath was also gone. He pondered for a moment, secretly guessing that due to the passage of time, even though the storage bag had solidified, some of its contents had likely dispersed through the crack. However, he had refined the sword sheath using a cold elixir. Therefore, now that his primordial spirit had achieved enlightenment, a mere thought would trigger a slight connection to it. After a moment's thought, Wang Lin stepped directly into the crack. Upon entering, the spatial rift shrank and then disappeared. The valley of Juming once again returned to silence. The spatial rift wasn't empty either. Everywhere was filled with the violent aura of the life-destroying wind. In addition, countless flashes of light of various colors flickered. There were even some black rocks floating within. Upon entering, Wang Lin felt a sensation similar to the one in the ancient god diagram's memories, except there was no spirit here. Wang Lin raised his right hand, leaving a mark. Then, he sped forward at an extremely fast speed. Within the spatial rift, he was like a shooting star, hurtling towards the sensing primordial spirit. As he flew, occasionally, a mouthful of teeth would appear around him. Each time it appeared, it emitted a suction force. However, this suction force had no effect on anything within the spatial rift. Slowly, Wang Lin's speed increased. After an unknown amount of time, a large black rock appeared before him. A sword sheath was embedded in it. The sheath was indeed Wang Lin's from years ago, but surrounding the sheath were four dark figures. These figures, in human form, sat cross-legged, absorbing the sheath. Threads of light emanated from the sheath and were absorbed by the four figures. Seeing this from afar, Wang Lin suddenly stopped. His gaze was calm, and he waved his hand. The sheath trembled slightly, and the part embedded within it began to slowly rise. But at this moment, the four dark figures suddenly turned their heads to look at Wang Lin. A blue light flashed in their eyes. Wang Lin's gaze remained calm. He said nothing. Seeing the sword sheath flying higher and higher, even emitting a clear, ringing sound, the four dark figures simultaneously opened their mouths. Immediately afterward, more threads flew out from the sheath and were absorbed by them. At the same time, one of the dark figures stood up straight. In an instant, its body suddenly grew larger, transforming into a black cloud that enveloped Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he sneered, "These ghostly creatures don't know their own limits." As he spoke, he pointed his left hand, shooting out a small stream of energy. Although the stream of energy wasn't very strong, it contained Wang Lin's intent. As soon as the stream of energy appeared, it radiated an aura of destruction. In an instant, it plunged into the dark figure. The life force within the dark figure was instantly extinguished by the intent. The dark figure let out a mournful cry. Its body emitted waves of black energy. Upon closer inspection, one could see strange light enveloping its body. Under the influence of those rays of light, its body grew smaller and smaller. After only a few breaths, it vanished. In the blink of an eye, as it disappeared, Wang Lin's right hand pointed again, shooting out a thin stream of energy that penetrated the spot where the black shadow had vanished. Instantly, the black energy scattered around condensed into a huge statue of a demon god. In Gu Shen Tut's memory, that statue of the demon god was named Siyu Di Ren. The life and death intent transformed from the living realm, emitting a change, and it roared, opening its arms towards the remaining three black shadows. Wang Lin remained motionless, his primordial spirit immersed in the life and death intent. He controlled the life and death intent, releasing a strange force that materialized into a physical object. This was the first time Wang Lin had used a divine ability after reaching the god transformation stage to control the power of heaven and earth. For a god transformation cultivator, apart from a few powerful divine abilities, the ability to fix spells was already very limited. All the attack methods were based on the heavenly Tao concept they had comprehended. The three dark figures beside the sword sheath let out a cry. One figure suddenly lunged at the sheath and instantly burrowed inside. Then it wrapped around the sheath, emerging from the black stone and swiftly flying away into the distance. The other two dark figures turned around. Their eyes flashed with blood blue light as they attacked the demon god statue. However, the moment one of the dark figures struck the demon god statue, it exploded, transforming into thousands of black threads that burrowed into the statue from all directions. The remaining dark figure seized this opportunity, dodged, and attacked Wang Lin. The blue light in its eyes flashed, giving off an eerie feeling. Wang Lin's gaze remained calm. He lightly touched his right hand to his forehead. Immediately, his primordial spirit suddenly rose from the top of his head, glanced at the dark figure, and reached out to grab the air. The shadowy figure, seeing the nascent soul leave its body, let out a horrified cry. Without a word, it turned and fled. But its speed was no match for the nascent soul, and it couldn't escape the grasping hand. A series of piercing screams rang out as it was caught and devoured by Wang Lin's nascent soul. As for the fleeing sword sheath, it didn't follow a straight line, but flashed continuously from side to side, clearly guarding against Wang Lin's teleportation. Wang Lin smirked coldly. The nascent soul suddenly disappeared, becoming a part of the spatial rift, as if the flying sword sheath could be seen. At the place where the sheath was flying, a hand suddenly appeared from the void and grabbed the sheath. After firmly grasping the sheath, the nascent soul returned to its body. The teleportation technique, a transformation of the nascent soul into the heaven and earth, is not something every nascent soul cultivator can master. It must be based on their own understanding of the realm of their consciousness. It is several times more powerful than teleportation. After swallowing the shadow, Wang Lin immediately gained its memories. The shadow was indeed the obsession of a cultivator with great spiritual power, separated from its physical body. Moreover, that obsession was brought into a spatial rift, enduring the annihilation wind. From there, it could form a death annihilation body, transforming into the soul of a magical artifact. The obsession didn't possess high intelligence. After drifting in the spatial rift, it coincidentally encountered a sword sheath. Sensing something strange emanating from the sheath that had a very beneficial effect on the spirit, it began to absorb it. Holding the sheath, Wang Lin pointed his right hand towards the demon god statue. Instantly, the shadow that had just merged into the demon god's body slowly transformed into a stream of spiritual power and disappeared. As for the shadow hiding in the sheath, when Wang Lin's right hand trembled, it was forced out. As soon as it appeared, Wang Lin grabbed it. The spiritual power in his hand radiated, causing the shadow to instantly vanish. Killing those for obsessions, the purpose was to prevent them from returning, so that the cultivators with great divine abilities would know. Wang Lin's body moved slightly and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was at the place where the mark was left. He tore open the crack and crawled through. After reappearing in Jumeng Valley, Wang Lin did not stop, but quickly flew away. A month later, Wang Lin appeared outside an ancient teleportation array, leaving Zhao Kingdom. The appearance of the martial cauldron proves that the day the heavenly Tao opens is not far off. Now that I have reached the early stage of the transformation god realm, although the distance to the nascent soul realm is still too far, it is not without hope. Once I reach the nascent soul realm, Sichuan can awaken. Back then, he told me he was the #1 expert of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. If he awakens, he will obviously know about the cultivation star's essence. It will even be of great use in obtaining that treasure, Wang Lin murmured. I don't know if the transformation realm can bring my parents back to life, but I understand the cycle of life and death in the heavenly Tao. The more I understand reincarnation, the more I feel I cannot defy the heavenly Tao. It will happen sooner or later. It's unavoidable. I'm just afraid that the thought of bringing them back to life will be very difficult to achieve, Wang Lin sighed. Well, let's think about that later. If it's truly impossible to bring them back to life, then we'll find a place in the human world where my parents can find peace. Oh. Now, the next thing I need to do is refine the forbidden spanner. There's only one block of inkstone left. This time, I must use it carefully and absolutely not let it get damaged. As for that other embryo, I've tried repairing it these past few days, but it's too difficult and will definitely trigger a heavenly tribulation. On the other hand, although I've reached the god transformation realm, I still have too few magical artifacts. I don't know when the heavenly Tao will descend, but I need to prepare early. I must obtain the immortal realm Ched. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with determination. Originally, he had the thought of returning to the Chu Kingdom. After a moment of thought, he gritted his teeth and patted his storage bag. Immediately, the Wen beast, which hadn't appeared for a long time, flew out of the bag and circled in the air a few times. Wang Lin jumped onto its back, crossed his legs, and rode away. His divine consciousness stirred slightly, and the Wen beast let out a long, joyful roar, charging forward. The Wen beast's expression was quite bizarre. Anyone watching would surely feel a chill. After all, its appearance was extremely ferocious. Wang Lin smiled and took out a bottle of pills from his storage bag. He took out a few pills and threw them forward. Instantly, the Wen beast's eyes lit up with joy as it rushed forward and swallowed the pills. And so, Wang Lin continued to discard the pills while the beast flew onward. Before long, the pill bottle was less than half full. At this point, Wang Lin put away the bottle, patted the beast, and chuckled, scolding, "You little beast, the pills are all gone today. If you fly a little faster, I'll give you some more tomorrow." Hearing this, the beast let out a shriek and darted away like lightning. Along the way, Wang Lin felt a little joyful. His great revenge had been taken, and his cultivation had achieved a breakthrough. This feeling was truly indescribable. Wang Lin let out a long howl. The beast beneath him, as if in agreement, also shrieked. The two sounds resonated, echoing far and wide. Wherever the beast flew, the cultivation nations below were disturbed. Several divine senses spread out, but upon discovering Wang Lin and the beast's cultivation levels, they all withdrew their senses, not daring to disturb them. At this moment, in a cultivation kingdom at the foot of Wang Lin's mountain, in a city, a scruffy old man was smiling at a young foundation establishment cultivator, saying, "Little brother, I see your forehead is full, and purple light has entered your body. You're certainly not an ordinary person. It's a pity that without someone to guide you, you might never be able to form a golden core in this lifetime." The young Taoist glared, shouting, "Get out of the way. If you block my way again, don't blame me for being impolite." The scruffy old man mumbled a few words, then pointed to the flashing light in the sky and said, "See him." Back then, this little fellow was only at the nascent soul stage, but after a few words of guidance from me, he's now reached the transformation god stage. Do you want me to summon him down to prove it to you? The young Taoist snorted softly, looked up at the dark figure that had flown far into the air, and said to the old man, "Get lost." As he spoke, he pushed the old man and continued walking. The old man sighed, showing regret, then hurried forward. In his right hand, a stack of tokens appeared seemingly out of nowhere. He said, "Little brother, here I have the tokens of the 8 major sects of Tangshuo Kingdom. I even have the sect master's token. This is the best self-defense treasure. If someone causes you trouble, just throw one out and they'll surely be terrified." Wang Lin was obviously unaware of this. After his howling subsided, he laughed heartily and patted his storage bag. A wooden sculpture appeared in his hand. This sculpture depicted an old man in a green robe. Wang Lin lightly grasped the air with his right hand. Instantly, a beam of light appeared in his hand. He bit his fingertip, and a drop of fresh blood seeped into the light. Then, he shot that beam of light at the statue. Instantly, the wooden statue flashed with light. Inside the statue, a blood-red meridian appeared, rapidly running through it. Upon closer inspection, it was evident that there wasn't just one meridian, but over 30 in total. This blood-red meridian continuously flowed through the gaps within the statue, without touching anything else. This was the result of Wang Lin's diligent cultivation over the past few days. Time passed silently, and a month flew by in the blink of an eye. Wang Lin, riding on his spirit beast, traversed several teleportation arrays and finally arrived at the Cultivation Demon Sea. For decades, the Cultivation Demon Sea had been embroiled in war. The allied nations were caught in a stalemate, facing counterattacks from the cultivators within the Cultivation Demon Sea. Wang Lin's target was the Shattered Star Rebellion within the Cultivation Demon Sea. After acquiring the ancient god's memories, through various techniques, Wang Lin could freely enter and exit this place. After much thought, Wang Lin decided that only in the ancient god land could he forge the Forbidden Spanner without it being destroyed by the heavenly tribulation. Besides that reason, Wang Lin had another objective. The passages within the ancient god land contained many powerful spirit beasts, even desolate beasts. Therefore, Wang Lin planned to capture one, hoping to obtain a complete set of magical artifacts before the heavenly Tao descended and he could enter the immortal realm. He even intended to go to the outer battlefields to gather enough demonic souls. Wang Lin reasoned that as long as he didn't go too deep into the first gate of the ancient god land, Tusen wouldn't discover him. And even if he did, with his current cultivation level, he could certainly escape. After careful consideration, as soon as Wang Lin entered the outer Cultivation Demon Sea, he took out the straw hat that the slovenly old man had given him and put it on. Instantly, his entire body was enveloped in golden light. He then flew towards the Shattered Star Chaos. Under the effect of the golden light, along the way, some small forces did not dare to obstruct him, letting him pass. War in the inner Cultivation Demon Sea continued incessantly. Although large-scale battles were rare, there were still some small skirmishes. However, the level of these battles was mostly from the core formation stage downwards. Even nascent soul stage cultivators rarely participated. It was as if both sides were accumulating strength in preparation for a large-scale battle. Therefore, in this state, basically no one pursued Wang Lin. Although some nascent soul stage cultivators noticed him, after scanning with their divine sense, they let him pass. Along the way, Wang Lin's flying speed was extremely fast. If he encountered any blind demonic beasts, the beast would immediately open its mouth and suck out their inner cores. After passing through several teleportation arrays, he arrived at the inner Cultivation Demon Sea. As soon as he emerged from the teleportation array, he immediately noticed countless magical spells fluctuating in the distance. He swept his divine consciousness over them but paid no further attention. He took out his jade slip map. After examining the direction, he flew eastward. From here, flying east for about 100,000 miles would lead to the location of the Shattered Star Chaos. While flying, Wang Lin suddenly frowned. He saw a red cloud appear in the distance. The red cloud surged towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He knew that in the cultivation Demon Sea, strength was fundamental. If he continued to be weak, he would surely be devoured by those here. A cold aura emanated from his body. In an instant, the red cloud was very close. He saw a strange beast within the red cloud. The beast resembled a black tortoise, but its back lacked sharp spikes. On its head was a single, curved horn emitting black light. Its body was enormous. On its back sat an old man wearing coarse cloth clothes and carrying a large red gourd. Upon seeing the beast and the old man, Wang Lin instantly recognized him. He was the same person who had placed a restriction on him years ago, intending to abduct him from the refining pavilion. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, but he quickly regained his composure. He stared coldly. The old man, seated on the beast's back, moved at incredible speed, arriving before Wang Lin in an instant. After glancing at Wang Lin, he let out a small cry. Wang Lin could see that the old man's consciousness, after sweeping over him, was struck by the golden light of the hat, forcing him to retract. The old man stared intently at Wang Lin, his heart filled with apprehension. He glanced at the straw hat, then paused thoughtfully without speaking. Then, the old man patted the beast's body. The red cloud once again passed by Wang Lin and flew eastward. At this moment, the old man was also extremely cautious. In his mind, the golden light surrounding the other person caused him pain when his divine consciousness swept over it, so he didn't want to confront the opponent. Moreover, he thought that the person who possessed such a treasure must at least be a nascent soul cultivator. Therefore, he was even less inclined to engage in a pointless battle with that person. Wang Lin frowned when he saw the old man's target heading east. After a moment of contemplation, he flew forward. A distance of 100,000 miles was not far for a nascent soul cultivator who possessed the power of heaven and earth and had the ability of teleportation, which was several times stronger than instantaneous movement. Before long, the Shattered Star Chaos appeared before Wang Lin, especially the circular area of land. Within that area, the fragments of rocks slowly moved. They looked extremely ordinary, but they were moving in a mysterious way. At this moment, Wang Lin felt a completely different sensation looking at the area. He could sense something within the circle formed by the shattered rocks that defied the laws of heaven and earth. It was this very thing that allowed the intruder's clone, whose strength surpassed that of the original body, to materialize within the area. Meanwhile, the old man riding the beast was silently observing the Shattered Star Chaos. When Wang Lin arrived, the old man glanced at him briefly before looking away. Through his speed, he could determine that this person was a nascent soul cultivator. Wang Lin's gaze remained calm, slightly pensive. He found a spot near the Shattered Star Chaos, sat down cross-legged, and remained silent. He sat there meditating, but his consciousness remained vigilant. He wanted to see what the old man's purpose was. If he also intended to enter the ancient god land, Wang Lin wouldn't go first, but would wait until the other party entered before proceeding. The old man glanced back at Wang Lin and suddenly spoke, "Fellow Taoist, since you've come here, you must also want to collect the Aurora Fire Line. How about we form a team and enter the Shattered Star Chaos?" Wang Lin's expression remained calm, but his heart trembled. What was the Aurora Fire Line? The ancient god's memories didn't mention it. Wang Lin's cultivation time wasn't short, yet he had never heard of the Aurora Fire Line. He changed his tone, his voice hoarse as he chuckled. "I have no interest in forming a team." The old man snorted, glancing at Wang Lin. Then he turned back to look at the Shattered Star Chaos. The old man patted the beast. Instantly, the Zhuan-Wu-like beast opened its mouth and let out a roar. Its sound seemed capable of piercing clouds and shattering rocks. It appeared silent, but inside the Shattered Star Chaos, the rubble parted to reveal a vacuum. The old man stepped on the beast's head. The beast took a deep breath, and countless spiritual energies around it gathered in its mouth and were devoured. Then the beast roared again. Now, a cylindrical stream of energy could be seen rushing into the shattered star chaos. In an instant, it created a 100-jump-wide passage. The rubble inside the passage completely disappeared. Wang Lin's eyes blinked. The beast's power surprised him. He hadn't expected it to be so strong. But if a fight were to break out, Wang Lin wasn't afraid. After all, although the beast's power was strong, it only posed a threat in a direct attack. And in a battle where techniques could be changed flexibly, how could Wang Lin let it attack? The moment the beast roared, the old man's body shot forward like an arrow from a bow. He followed the whistling stream of energy and entered the shattered star chaos. Immediately afterward, only the rubble outside the merging stream of air could be seen, forming countless clones of the old man. The old man, however, showed no sign of panic. He potted his storage bag, and instantly, more than 10 jade slips flew out. As soon as they flew up, they spun around the old man. The clones, who were about to advance, immediately scattered in all directions upon seeing the jade slips. Each jade slip flew in a different direction at incredible speed, chasing after the clones. Several explosions rang out as the jade slips simultaneously detonated, transforming into countless rays of light. These then coalesced into a group of figures identical to the old man's clones. From that moment on, looking into the shattered star chaos became somewhat dizzying. The old man used the jade slip clones to battle the clones formed from the rubble. Taking advantage of the opportunity, the old man continued to rush forward, quickly escaping the shattered star chaos. As soon as he exited the shattered star chaos, the jade slip clones vanished. The rubble clones also let out a reluctant cry before disappearing as well. The old man turned around, glanced at Wang Lin outside the shattered star chaos, and snorted softly. He waved his right hand, and the beast's body instantly shrunk, transforming into a black beam of light that flew into the shattered star chaos. However, the shattered star chaos had no effect on the beam of light. The black light flew past the old man and transformed back into the beast. The old man leapt onto the beast's back and flew away. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He didn't get up immediately but waited silently. He stayed there for 7 days. He didn't put the one beast into his storage bag, but released it to forage for food. The one beast, being a type of demon beast born in the cultivation demon sea, was now like a creature returning to the vast ocean, extremely comfortable. After 7 days, the beast's figure slowly reappeared. The old man sat upright on its back. Around him were 7 long beams of light, like dragons, swirling around him. Whenever they struggled to break free, they were met with a barrier of light. The old man glanced at Wang Lin, then used the same method he had used to emerge from the shattered star chaos. Immediately afterward, he suddenly smiled, raised his right hand, and grabbed something. Instantly, a golden thread appeared in his hand. Then, he threw it towards Wang Lin, saying, "Fellow Taoist, this thread of fire is for you." The golden thread of light, like a flash of lightning, flew straight towards Wang Lin. Although Wang Lin was far away, it arrived in an instant. Wang Lin's expression remained calm. He pointed his right hand at the air. The life and death intent under the transformation of the primordial spirit. The life intent is boundless in its transformation. In fact, life force is merely one of its transformations. After he pointed his hand, the incoming thread of light immediately stopped. Then, it obediently wrapped around Wang Lin's finger. To refuse would be disrespectful. Wang Lin's hoarse voice slowly echoed. The old man's eyes flashed. At this moment, he was completely certain that the opponent's cultivation level was the nascent soul stage. It's important to know that the Aurora Fire Thread is a creation of heaven and earth, specifically designed to devour nascent souls. Unless one can form a nascent spirit, ordinary cultivators cannot grasp it. The old man chuckled and said, "If you don't wish to form a group, then I'll take my leave." After saying that, he patted the beast at his feet. Instantly, the beast emitted a red cloud, stepped on it, and flew away. In a flash, it disappeared. Wang Lin thought for a moment and then stood up. While looking at the golden thread in his hand, the one beast suddenly flew back from afar and stopped 10 meters away from Wang Lin. Its eyes stared at the golden thread with a mixture of fear and occasional desire. It seemed to want to approach, but didn't dare. Wang Lin let out a small sigh. He glanced at the golden thread on his finger. After a moment of contemplation, he looked at the one beast and said, "Does this thing have any effect on you?" The beast's eyes seemed to struggle for a moment before it nodded, but immediately fear returned. Wang Lin's heart stirred, and the life and death intent emanated from his nascent soul, condensing into the golden thread. Instantly, a faint light emanated from the thread. Under the influence of the light, the thread's color faded, becoming somewhat listless. The beast let out a small cry. Wang Lin waved his hand, and the golden thread flew out. The beast quickly flew up and rammed into the thread. Instantly, the thread penetrated the beast's head. The beast shrieked in pain, its body convulsing, but its eyes showed a mixture of joy and fear. Wang Lin was somewhat astonished. He observed for a while. After about 3 incense sticks worth of time, the beast stopped trembling. A few yellow rays of light flashed on its body. At this moment, its body emitted cracking sounds, and it grew larger. The mutated beast was approximately 30 jang in size, resembling a small mountain, which wasn't an exaggeration. Its wide mouth and long proboscis sent chills down one's spine. In reality, the Aurora silk was merely a refining material that only cultivators at the nascent soul stage and above could grasp. It specialized in devouring nascent souls to grow. Demonic beasts would avoid it at first sight. However, because the beast had followed Wang Lin for a long time and frequently consumed spiritual elixirs, its rank had broken through. From low-grade spiritual level to mid-grade, equivalent to a late-stage nascent soul cultivator at the peak of their power. Originally, it couldn't combine with the golden thread, but under Wang Lin's life and death intent, the golden thread weakened considerably. Therefore, its life force decreased, allowing the beast to fuse with it, thus transforming its body. Wang Lin stood up straight and patted the Wen beast. Understanding his intention, the beast transformed into a beam of light and entered his storage bag. Wang Lin moved slightly and flew towards the shattered star chaos. It didn't take long for him to emerge from it. Even during his core formation stage, Wang Lin could move freely through it, let alone now. Especially after comprehending the life and death intent, the death intent enveloped his entire body upon entering the shattered star chaos, diminishing his life force. Therefore, although a clone appeared, its strength was also reduced. After emerging from the shattered star chaos, he didn't stop but quickly rushed towards the entrance of the ancient god's path. When he arrived, just as he was about to enter, the one beast suddenly emerged from his storage bag. It circled in the air several times, crying out frantically towards the distance. At times, its eyes turned towards Wang Lin in a pleading manner. Wang Lin was startled. His divine consciousness spread far and wide, and he discovered a tiny spatial crack in the air. Threads of gold were emerging from the crack, emitting a golden light. Seeing this, Wang Lin immediately understood and smiled, saying, "How about that? One isn't enough." The beast nodded hastily, showing its joy. It thrust its large mouth towards Wang Lin. If anyone else saw this, they would surely be terrified. Such a large mouth was certainly ominous. Few dared let it touch them. Wang Lin chuckled, glancing at the gold threads, and said, "No need to be impatient. Wait until I seal the area around you to prevent others from entering, then I'll give it to you." As he spoke, Wang Lin's hands transformed, conjuring countless illusory forbidden formations. These formations were now completely different from when his cultivation was only at the nascent soul stage. Before, they only possessed the power of the formations themselves, but now they also contained Wang Lin's intent, multiplying their power. The restrictive formations quickly spread in all directions, gradually encircling an area of several hundred miles, forming an enormous barrier. After completing this, Wang Lin flew towards the golden thread. At this moment, the golden thread had only emerged halfway, as if encountering a deadly enemy, and without hesitation, it quickly retreated. In the blink of an eye, it retreated further. The beast beside it let out a frantic cry, but dared not advance, only watching Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he reached out and grabbed the golden thread. He let out a low shout and pulled hard. Immediately, the golden thread was pulled out, struggling in his hand. The purple intent immediately changed, causing the golden thread to fade. Then Wang Lin threw it out. The beast immediately advanced and merged with it. At this moment, the fist-sized crack, after the golden threads were pulled out, quickly shrank and disappeared. A glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He immediately sat cross-legged. His primordial spirit instantly left his body and, with extreme speed, entered the spatial crack. As soon as his primordial spirit entered the crack, he felt a golden light before him. He sensed that this was a strange space. In the distance, it seemed as if a huge sun was shining. Countless golden threads were flying around it. Without a word, Wang Lin reached out and grabbed them. Instantly, he caught more than a dozen golden threads. After collecting them, his primordial spirit held the golden threads and quickly returned. The moment his primordial spirit left, the crack closed. As for the more than 10 golden threads that were enveloped by Wang Lin's intent, they suddenly dimmed. Then, he threw them all to the Wen Beast. The Wen Beast's eyes instantly lit up with excitement, and it quickly devoured them. However, because there were so many golden threads, it seemed unable to absorb any more in such a short time. After Wang Lin infused a little of the purple intent into each golden thread to keep them in a weakened state, he smiled and said, "You can eat slowly. I'm going to the ancient god's land." With that, he disappeared. When he reappeared, he was standing before the entrance to the ancient god's land. He took a deep breath, then clasped his hands together, muttering a few words of the ancient gods. Instantly, his body became ethereal and gradually vanished. Outside the first gate of the ancient god's land was a passage completely devoid of light. Wang Lin appeared on a large stone slowly floating in the air. Returning to this place, Wang Lin felt a little emotional. But he also knew time was of the essence, so he immediately sat down cross-legged and cast some protective spells. He potted his storage bag with his right hand and took out a block of inkstone. Taking a deep breath, Wang Lin's hands transformed. He unleashed a series of offensive restrictions at lightning speed onto the inkstone. As time passed, the number of restrictions on the inkstone increased. After completing the refining process, Wang Lin produced another item, a soul banner. Under his control, the inkstone and the soul banner merged perfectly. Then, the refining process began. Time passed slowly, and Wang Lin didn't hesitate for a moment. After preparing everything, he quickly began the refining. All the restrictions simultaneously fell onto the forbidden banner. After an unknown amount of time, only one of the 99 restrictions remained to be successfully completed. At this moment, Wang Lin hesitated. If he wasn't mistaken, refining it here would also cause lightning to strike. This would make it very difficult to preserve the forbidden banner. Once damaged, unless he could obtain more inkstone, he would have to rely on Li Miwen's. If he stopped now, although the forbidden banner's power wouldn't be sufficient, it wouldn't be damaged. If used carefully, it would be acceptable. After thinking for a moment, a glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. If the forbidden banner lacked sufficient power, it would be extremely weak. And then, the journey to the immortal realm gate would be completely useless. He gritted his teeth and struck the final forbidden spell on the forbidden banner with his right hand. Instantly, the forbidden banner vibrated, releasing streams of black energy. A primal feeling immediately emanated from it. Wang Lin's divine consciousness swept over it, deducing that the forbidden banner only possessed one attribute. He felt a sense of dread. Its power was unexpectedly dozens of times greater than before it reached its peak. It was like a nascent soul stage cultivator bullying a child. Especially after the forbidden banner was completed, the 90 forbidden formations combined into one. Using the remaining 9 forbidden formations as the main ones, he could unleash a forbidden spirit technique. Within a certain range, the forbidden spirit technique would not only suppress the spiritual energy in the heavens and earth, but also the spiritual power within the cultivator's body. From then on, except for cultivators practicing immortal Cha, all other cultivators would lose their spiritual power in a short period of time. Wang Lin's eyes blinked as he held the forbidden banner in his hand. His confidence in his journey to the immortal realm increased greatly. As for the fact that the forbidden banner's success did not trigger a heavenly tribulation, Wang Lin was somewhat excited. He knew he had succeeded. A separate world had formed within the ancient god's body, obviously undetectable by the heavenly tribulation, let alone descending upon it. He took a deep breath and continued to unleash another forbidden formation. However, he couldn't complete all 999 forbidden formations, because the forbidden spells only have limited offensive capabilities. That's also the reason why the forbidden banner has only one attribute. After casting 18 different forbidden spells on the forbidden banner, Wang Lin sighed inwardly. He had done his best, but he could only do this much. If he wanted to continue, he could only carefully study each forbidden spell he encountered in the future, gathering the expertise of hundreds of schools to increase the number of offensive forbidden spells. Wang Lin decided that he needed to exchange more information about forbidden spells in the future. With only 99 forbidden spells, he already possessed such power. Wang Lin wondered what the forbidden spanner would be like if he could obtain 999 forbidden spells. He feared that even a nascent soul cultivator could be intimidated. Thinking of this, Wang Lin felt a surge of excitement. He pondered for a moment before retracting the forbidden spanner. Then he brought out the destroyed forbidden spanner. After hesitating for a while, he abandoned the idea of casting one last forbidden spell. After creating the forbidden spanner, Wang Lin's body flashed and he slowly flew towards the passage shrouded in darkness. He was quite familiar with this space. After all, he had carefully ascended from the bottom years ago, having faced countless dangers. Now, he didn't dare to be careless and descended cautiously. He chose the spirit beasts here because, although their numbers weren't large, each one possessed far greater strength than the demonic beasts in the cultivation demon sea. Even among the savage beasts here, there were a few with strength equivalent to cultivators with great divine abilities. Therefore, Wang Lin didn't want to provoke them. His goal was a high-grade spirit beast equivalent to the transformation god stage. One reason for choosing a beast here is that Wang Lin possesses a magical artifact called the Primordial Chaos Beast Control Scroll. The space within it allows him to control spirit beasts for his own use. However, it consumes a great deal of spiritual power. Wang Lin obtained this artifact the first time he came to the ancient god land, seizing it from several ancient cultivators. It has been very helpful to him. Over the following years, Wang Lin also experimented with some low-grade spirit beasts, confirming its effectiveness. Therefore, he has now decided to capture one. To obtain the immortal energy within the immortal realm gate, Wang Lin has prepared meticulously. This time, if he can capture a high-grade spirit beast with strength equivalent to a nascent soul cultivator, he will have much more assistance in the immortal realm. The only problem was that he had to calmly maintain the spiritual power of the beast-taming scroll. Otherwise, before the immortal realm opened, he would be bitten back while trying to capture spirit beasts. As he descended, his divine consciousness spread out, scanning the rocks, but he didn't detect a single spirit beast. Wang Lin felt suspicious. According to his memory, there should have been some spirit beasts at this location, but unexpectedly, they had all disappeared. He pondered for a moment. A flash of light flickered in his eyes before he continued descending. In an instant, he reached the distance of 10,000 feet where the dragon had fallen years ago. Standing on a rock, Wang Lin looked at the pitch-black void before him. After hesitating for a while, he continued flying down. He speculated that this place was likely the world of the savage beasts, but along the way, not even a single animal was encountered. This trip was definitely going to be in vain. Wang Lin was silent for a moment, then stopped. He raised his hands in front of him, preparing to cast a spell to leave the ancient god's land. After all, the area below was too dangerous. Wang Lin didn't want to risk his life for a spirit beast. But just as he was about to cast the spell, two bright lights suddenly flashed from the darkness. At the same time, the red dragon, like a bolt of lightning, shot out. Wang Lin recognized it at a glance as the same dragon from years ago. He was secretly shocked. He was about to leave when he suddenly stopped, because he saw a green toad suddenly appear in front of the dragon. The toad's body was about 3 jong long. It kicked backward and sped away. Behind it, the red dragon was still chasing after it relentlessly. Wang Lin said nothing. His body lowered and merged into the stone. His divine consciousness spread out to observe the distance. The incantation was complete. He could leave at will. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry to leave, carefully observing. He saw the red dragon, while chasing, open its mouth wide. Its body contracted and then suddenly sprang out, instantly increasing its speed several times, closing the distance. Its body swung up, wrapping around the toad. When the toad was caught by the dragon, it suddenly stopped. Its entire body flashed with countless blue lightning bolts. The lightning bolts emitted a light like the sun, illuminating all directions. Suddenly, a ball of lightning appeared on the toad's body. The red dragon roared, hastily dodging, clearly afraid of the lightning ball. Wang Lin took a deep breath. The toad's lightning, though seemingly unremarkable on the outside, instilled a sense of dread in him. To be able to contend with the red dragon that had parasitized a dragon's body years ago, this toad must also be a wild beast. But Wang Lin immediately dismissed that thought. After the toad unleashed its lightning, it became listless, falling onto the rock, its eyes filled with despair. Its size didn't seem like that of a wild beast. After all, a battle between two wild beasts wouldn't be decided in a single blow. Wang Lin felt a surge of excitement. He didn't want to provoke a wild beast, but if this toad was a top-grade spirit beast, it would perfectly suit his objectives. At this moment, the red dragon roared angrily. 10 red shadows suddenly appeared around its body. Within the shadows, countless spirit beast souls slowly emerged, all charging towards the toad. The despair in the toad's eyes grew increasingly apparent. Wang Lin gritted his teeth, and his body suddenly vanished. Above, the scorching sun beat down on him. Sun Wen, dressed in blue robes, stood with his hands clasped behind his back. In midair, a massive dragon throne sat, flanked by 2 alluring beautiful women. One held a large parasol to shield from the sun, while the other carried a blue porcelain bowl containing ice plum soup. On the ground, countless cultivators from various countries held their breath, waiting for the moment the outer battlefield would open and they could enter. Among these, except for the elders, were the elites of their respective nations. They wanted to go to the outer battlefield to train and raise their cultivation to a higher level. Of course, there were also a few exceptional individuals' disciples who had been hated and sent to the outer battlefield to face death at will. A little time passed, and although the sun was scorching hot, the monks were not ordinary people. Their bodies could naturally withstand it, showing no signs of fatigue. In fact, quite a few young disciples, when they looked up towards Sun Wen, showed admiration in their eyes. Sun Wen loved this kind of look. He extended his right hand and immediately the girl beside him brought up plum soup. Sun Wen took the white jade spoon and scooped up a plum along with some broth. After drinking it, a cool sensation immediately appeared in his body. This plum was not an ordinary fruit, but a type of spiritual medicine cultivated by the Gongsun Kingdom. Drinking one plum could significantly strengthen one's cultivation. Especially since this plum soup was made using a special method, it was like a jade nectar. Undoubtedly, Sun Wen was a person who knew how to enjoy himself. At this time, 3/4 of an hour had passed. Sun Wen put down the white jade spoon and slowly said, "You all know the rules of the outer battlefield. However, I have another rule. The harvested items must be shown to me before I make a decision. Do you remember? 1. In the past, people used a copper ladle with a hole in the middle to let water drip down gradually to keep track of time, called keluo. According to the clock now, 15 minutes is 1 keluo, for keluo is 1 hour. As soon as these words were spoken, the people of the various sects below became noisy. Several nascent soul stage cultivators of the same level appeared respectful on the outside, but inwardly sneered incessantly. Sun Wen patted his storage bag, and immediately 5 jade stones flew out. He bit his fingertip and dripped 5 drops of blood onto the jade stones, then swung them forward. Immediately, the 5 jade stones flew out quickly, transforming into 5 streams of light forming a circle with a pattern flying in the air. Next, Sun Wen made a hand gesture and uttered incantations. The brilliance of the jade stones grew increasingly dazzling. After a while, Sun Wen took a deep breath, sweat beading on his forehead. From his storage bag, he took out a jade bottle, poured out a few pills, and swallowed them. Then he gazed intently at the jade stones floating in midair, a look of triumph in his eyes. The 5 jade stones shone brighter and brighter. Finally, unexpectedly, a black vortex appeared within them. As soon as the black vortex appeared, it immediately devoured the light from the jade stones, growing larger and larger. Soon, the light completely disappeared, leaving only a black hole in the air, from which chilling air emanated. Looking inside, one could see some magical artifacts, materials, and shattered corpses floating by. Sun Wen coughed, his triumphant expression intensifying as he said, "Today." He stopped mid-sentence, his eyes widening in shock as he stared straight into the black hole, a look of terror in his eyes. At the same time, on the ground, all the cultivators gasped in shock, staring in horror at the black hole in the air. A white arm reached out from within the black hole, probing outwards, then grabbed its edge and tore it apart. Immediately, the black hole was ripped open, creating a huge gap. A young man in white robes slowly emerged from within. As soon as he appeared, the blazing sun in the sky was instantly shrouded in dark clouds, plunging the area below into darkness. Sun Wen's eyes widened in astonishment, his heart filled with fear. Almost without hesitation, he glanced at the person who had just emerged from the outer battlefield and realized he couldn't discern their cultivation level. However, having grown up in a fourth-tier cultivation nation, his eyesight was naturally sharp, and he estimated that this person must be at the nascent soul stage. He quickly rose from his dragon throne, hurried forward, and bowed respectfully, saying, "Junior Sun Wen from Gongsun Kingdom greets Senior." The person who emerged from the outer battlefield was, naturally, Wang Lin. He stepped out and vaguely glanced around. His gaze gradually focused, and after glancing at Sun Wen, he slowly said, "Is this Gongsun Kingdom?" Sun Wen, feeling a chill run down his spine from the other party's gaze, felt as if his very soul had been seen through. He couldn't help but become even more respectful and hastily said, "Senior, this is not Gongsun Kingdom, but a colony of my country, the third-level cultivation nation, Woon Kingdom." Wang Lin pondered for a moment. He had seen Woon Kingdom on a jade slip map before. It was a small country in the east. This place was almost half the distance of the Vermilion Bird Star from the cultivation Demon Sea, a considerable distance. Wang Lin had spent several years in the outer battlefield collecting wandering souls, traveling far and wide. He glanced around, and his figure instantly vanished from the spot. Seeing the other party leave, Sun Wen finally breathed a sigh of relief, wiping the sweat from his forehead, his heart filled with a little fear. Looking at that person, he felt as if he were meeting the ancestors of his family. At this moment, he had no interest in continuing to show off his power, hastily leaving a few words before quickly flying towards the tower-shaped building. This matter had to be reported to the family immediately. He thought that a nascent soul cultivator who could come from the outer battlefield must not be an unknown figure. Wang Lin was currently standing on a towering mountain shrouded in clouds. This mountain was called Breaking Heaven, and the map in the jade slip described it as the highest mountain in Wuan Kingdom. On the mountaintop, Wang Lin began to ponder. The top-grade spirit stones he had used in recent years were naturally not much left. This type of spirit stone was not common on the Vermilion Bird Star. Wang Lin calculated that he dared not waste them on the journey and would save them for the purpose of preserving his life. At this point, during his journey from the outer battlefield, Wang Lin had reaped very generous rewards. He hadn't expected that his primordial spirit, through devouring souls, would also evolve. Gently touching his forehead, a smile appeared on Wang Lin's lips. He was now completely confident in his journey to the immortal realm. As long as he didn't encounter some late-stage nascent soul cultivators or the prodigies of the Snow Region Kingdom, Wang Lin was 100% certain of victory against ordinary mid-stage nascent soul cultivators. Even against late-stage nascent soul cultivators, with his years of preparation, he could safely escape without his life being in danger. In fact, Wang Lin's preparations for this journey to the immortal realm were overly cautious. Besides obtaining the immortal realm's energy, another reason was to preserve his life. The gates of the immortal realm opened, and although the cultivators who entered were required to have their cultivation levels limited to the nascent soul stage, otherwise they would be shattered. It's important to know that there would certainly be cultivators with cultivation levels of nascent soul or higher within. In other words, it's very possible that cultivators at the transformation stage would participate. While such individuals aren't numerous, they certainly exist. Even if they restrict their cultivation to the nascent soul stage, their divine abilities are something no ordinary nascent soul cultivator can withstand. That's why Wang Lin was so well prepared. As for the legendary peak-seeking old monsters mentioned in the legends, whether they would enter the immortal realm or not, Wang Lin couldn't guess. But he suspected they probably wouldn't. After all, in the entire Vermilion Bird Kingdom, there weren't many peak-seeking old monsters, probably no more than 5. This is based on Wang Lin's years of cultivation and his understanding of the Vermilion Bird Star. He deduced that it's difficult to advance beyond the nascent soul stage. While not entirely accurate, it's not far from reality. In fact, Wang Lin speculated that in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, there are probably only 4 peak-level cultivators. Of these 4, 2 are in the early stage, 1 in the middle stage, and the last one is a single powerful cultivator in the late stage, the one who inherits the Vermilion Bird name. These 4 wouldn't easily leave the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, nor would they pay attention to the affairs of the cultivation world. For them, few things in this world could disturb their minds. These four would only intervene when cultivators from other planets caused trouble on the Vermilion Bird star. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his eyes flickering. The spirit beasts, forbidden scrolls, and demonic heads were all prepared, and he even refined the 2 feathers from the fan he used in the outer battlefield. As for the 3 mysterious sword scabbards, they were also refined by Wang Lin using his primordial spirit. Besides these items, his storage bag contained more than 10 ancient cultivator artifacts from recent years, 3 of which he had broken through the divine consciousness of, transforming them into his own magical treasures. The only thing in his storage bed that Wang Lin couldn't quite grasp was a scroll he had obtained from an ordinary cultivator in the demonic cultivation sea. When he opened this scroll, it revealed a vast expanse of darkness, and a terrifying aura struck him. Wang Lin had opened this scroll 3 times in total. The first time was during the core formation stage, the second during the nascent soul stage, and the third now, during the transformation god stage. Each time he opened it, he felt a different sensation. This scroll seemed to possess a mysterious power that made people tremble with fear. Wang Lin sighed softly, and with a wave of his right hand, the scroll appeared in his grasp. He was silent for a moment. He couldn't even remember whose hands this scroll had belonged to before. He tossed the scroll forward, his primordial spirit leaving his body to begin refining it. This was a habit he had maintained for the past few years. Each time he refined the scroll, a new connection formed between them. Several hours later, as darkness fell, Wang Lin's primordial spirit returned to his body, retrieving the scroll. The day the heavenly Tao opens must be very soon. Now there's only one final preparation left. However, this preparation will take hundreds of years, perhaps even thousands of years or more. Wang Lin murmured to himself, his eyes flashing, his divine consciousness instantly sweeping across every detail of the entire Wound Kingdom. Then his body moved, and he vanished from the spot. 3 months later, Wang Lin traveled across the 7 cultivation nations, finding some 100-year-old trees. He then built a cave dwelling within a cliff, where he secluded himself to create wooden sculptures. 1,000-year-old trees were extremely difficult to find. Wang Lin searched diligently but couldn't find any, and even 100-year-old trees were scarce. Inside the cave dwelling, Wang Lin disregarded all trivial matters, completely immersed in carving wooden sculptures. Another year passed, during which time Wang Lin had created 8 wooden sculptures. All 8 sculptures were identical, depicting the old man in green robes embodying the essence of time. Including the sculptures he had created years earlier, there were a total of 9. These sculptures all contained meridians running through them, the lines of which ran randomly and did not intersect at any point. Wang Lin's gaze was calm. This wooden carving, imbued with the essence of time, once fully revealed, could trigger a single attempt to access the ancient essence of time that the old man in green had possessed. Retrieving the carving, Wang Lin took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and sat down quietly, waiting for the day the heavenly Tao would open so he could enter. Time slowly passed. Several years had gone by since Wang Lin began his meditation. Outside the cliff, spring gave way to autumn. One day, the sky, which had been sunny, suddenly appeared with streaks of 5-colored light. Within these streaks of light, numerous illusory figures, brimming with oppressive power, emerged. These illusory figures included men and women, but their attire differed from that of the Vermilion Bird star. They sometimes laughed and talked, sometimes performed magical dances, and sometimes soared through the cloud-covered mountain peaks. There were even countless never-before-seen illusory figures of demonic beasts flashing about. Surprisingly, immortal beasts like dragons and phoenixes also appeared. Similar scenes, at this time, simultaneously appeared in many places on the Vermilion Bird star. Wherever this scene appeared, it was always a place where cultivators with martial cauldrons resided. At the same time, in the southeastern region of the Vermilion Bird star, in the 4th-level cultivation nation of the giant demon clan, a giant with a body like an iron tower, holding a martial cauldron in his hand, began to ascend into the air. This person had an ancient-looking face. As he ascended, his body continuously shrank, eventually becoming the size of a normal human. Below him, the faces of the giant demon clan's sect leaders all showed serious expressions. Rest assured, with the clan's treasure in my hands, I will definitely obtain the Immortal Realm artifact. His voice was filled with powerful confidence. In the northeast of Vermilion Bird star, Deep within a desolate mountain, a young man clad in animal skins stood atop a towering tree, gazing up at the sky. He held a martial cauldron in his hand. He licked his lips, his eyes gleaming with bloodlust, and let out a hearty laugh before soaring into the air. Beneath him, a black whirlwind suddenly appeared. A whistling sound emanated from within the whirlwind. Upon closer inspection, it was revealed that the whirlwind was actually a swarm of insects the size of a thumb. In the southwest of Vermilion Bird Star, atop a tall tower, a middle-aged man holding a gourd gazed up at the sky, his eyes filled with sorrow as he murmured, "Dinger. The gate of the immortal realm has opened again. This time I will surely obtain the immortal jade so that your body may be preserved for another 1,000 years." Having said this, he soared into the air, his large hand pressing downwards, causing the tall tower to instantly shrink and fit in his palm. Carrying the pagoda, he entered the realm of illusions. To the northwest of the Vermilion Bird Star, the headquarters of the Yin sect, a white-haired old man, with his hands clasped behind his back, slowly ascended into the air. He sighed softly, saying, "Why do such things happen? An immortal's body is hard to attain, and yet my old body must suffer." In the center of the Vermilion Bird Star, surrounded by sea on all sides, lay a vast continent. All this land belonged to a single 6th-level cultivation nation, the Snow Domain Kingdom. Within a radius of 10,000 feet around the center of the Snow Domain Kingdom stood a massive altar. A cold, ethereal woman in white stood gazing up at the sky. Following behind her were 7 weathered old men. "I'm leaving now. The 7 of you quickly return to the Snow Domain Kingdom." The woman's voice was calm and indifferent. Then her figure slowly ascended into the air, heading towards the realm of illusions, rising higher and higher. Time at this point, within the cave, Wang Lin opened his eyes for the first time in several years. He muttered, "The day the heavenly Tao opens has finally arrived." His eyes flashed, and he vanished from his spot, reappearing in midair. In his hand was an object, the martial cauldron. As soon as the martial cauldron appeared, it emitted a brilliant radiance, finally converging into a wisp of immortal energy that swirled around Wang Lin's body, carrying him towards the void. The immortal realm was already lost. The ancient immortals were all dead. Countless years ago, the entire immortal realm had been shattered by a series of great calamities, turning it into countless fragments. Wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, the 4 great immortal gates divided the sky into 4 parts. Each immortal gate contained numerous cultivation planets. Therefore, each time the gates of the immortal realm opened, powerful cultivators from various cultivation planets would simultaneously appear. It's just that the immortal realm has been fragmented into so many small pieces, so these people don't have many opportunities to simultaneously descend upon the same small fragment of the immortal realm. At this moment, in a second-tier cultivation nation, a shabbily dressed old man, holding a chicken leg in his hand, was gnawing on it while looking up and laughing heartily, saying, "It's opened. Little brat, if you used the straw hat I lend you well, you would certainly be able to save your life this time. If you hadn't followed my instructions, I'm afraid you wouldn't have been able to keep your little life." Wang Lin was guided by a ray of immortal energy, his body slowly rising. Very quickly, when he looked down at the cultivation nation below, it became smaller and smaller. Finally, he seemed to have returned to that year, the moment of his mortal transformation when his divine consciousness shattered his body, the feeling of flying high in the sky. Only this time it wasn't his divine consciousness, but his entire body. Gradually, beyond the vast land below, he could see the boundless oceans stretching out. Everything became smaller and smaller, until finally he felt himself approaching a thick layer of clouds covering his head. Within these clouds lay an infinitely powerful force, each wave of immense pressure seemingly capable of shattering all matter in the world with ease. However, as the pressure descended upon him, the celestial energy swirling around his body instantly flashed with radiance. Immediately, a passage appeared within the cloud layer, allowing Wang Lin to pass through easily. As he passed through the cloud layer, Wang Lin felt a sense of dread. The passage wasn't large. Standing upright would cause him to bump into the walls. But Wang Lin knew that even a slight touch of the cloud layer would undoubtedly cause him to be instantly killed by the overwhelming pressure. This was the concentrated power of heavenly might. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his eyes gleaming. He analyzed that if his true form were here, he wondered if, with the transformations of his physical body, he could withstand the pressure of this cloud layer. This was an unanswerable question, unless he himself had to test it. Very quickly, guided by the immortal energy, Wang Lin successfully passed through the cloud layer. The moment he left the cloud layer, Wang Lin breathed a sigh of relief, but immediately afterward, his emotions began to surge. What he saw was a sky full of stars. He had seen this starry sky many times. Whether it was in the remaining memories of the ancient god Tut or during his previous experience of transcending the mortal realm and comprehending the heavenly Tao, he had seen this expanse. But this was the first time he had seen it with his naked eyes. The difference between this feeling and the previous one was enormous. A vast expanse of stars, dazzling with brilliance. All of this gave Wang Lin the feeling of boundless sky and ocean, free to soar. He lowered his head and looked down. The vermilion bird star had transformed into a massive sphere. As the distance increased, the vermilion bird star became smaller and smaller, so that's how it is. Wang Lin seemed to have realized something. At this moment, 5 pillars of light flew out from within the vermilion bird star. Within these 5 pillars were 5 figures. Of these 5, except for 3, the other 2, like Wang Lin, were now looking at the vermilion bird star below, as if they were experiencing some kind of enlightenment. Gradually, Wang Lin noticed that the immortal energy outside his body was guiding him towards them. Finally, including himself, the 6 pillars of light formed a hexagonal pattern. They merged together, yet did not touch each other, neither far nor near. Wang Lin glanced and immediately recognized that among these 5 figures, only one was a woman. It was none other than Hong Dai, the prodigy of the Snow Region Kingdom, who had reached the late stage of the God transformation realm within 100 years. His expression was calm, his face expressionless, his gaze sweeping across the group. The appearance of Hong Dai was not unexpected for Wang Lin. Moreover, this woman had never seen Wang Lin's true form, so he wasn't worried about being recognized at this moment. On the other hand, regarding the 4 people, one had an extremely powerful physique. His upper body displayed muscles that were terrifying. At first glance, he didn't look like a cultivator, but rather somewhat like a martial artist from the mortal world. However, within this person's forehead was a hammer-shaped mark, sometimes visible, sometimes hidden. Looking at this hammer, Wang Lin immediately determined that this person was from the giant demon clan, and his status was likely not low. There was also a person who appeared to be a youth, but whose eyes unintentionally revealed a bloodthirsty look. Wang Lin only glanced at him before withdrawing his gaze. This person's aura was similar to his own, but probably weaker than his. If it were me, I could overpower this person with my killing intent. Looking in another direction, Wang Lin's pupils contracted. The last 2 people, especially the old man with white hair, had their eyes closed, arms crossed, and showed no expression on their faces, yet exuded a sense of casualness, as if strolling in their own garden. When Wang Lin observed them, this person suddenly opened their eyes wide and smiled at Wang Lin. Wang Lin glanced at this person carefully, then withdrew his gaze and focused on the last person. This person looked like a middle-aged man holding a gourd in their hand, occasionally taking a sip, their eyes showing a vacant look, as if nothing interested them. They didn't even seem to react to Wang Lin's gaze. Wang Lin took a deep breath. Each of these 5 people was a master. While Wang Lin observed the 5 people, except for the middle-aged man who was drinking to drown his sorrows, the other 4 were observing each other, none of them speaking. Wang Lin suddenly had a realization. He had, unknowingly, become a top expert. His ability to escape from the vermilion bird star and reach the gates of the immortal realm spoke volumes about his capabilities. Moreover, from the eyes of these people, except for the middle-aged man and the old man who showed no expression, the other 3 didn't seem to look at him with contempt, but rather with a hint of weariness. Wang Lin smiled. At this moment, he felt a sense of pride. Who could have imagined that a young man from a mountain village could reach this point today? Recalling all the events of the past, Wang Lin could be said to have taken a single step that changed everything. All matters of life and death, all his life experiences, had changed with this step. The beams of light merged to form a hexagonal pattern, suddenly soaring upwards at incredible speed. A massive, golden glowing gate appeared before Wang Lin's eyes. This gate was truly enormous, beyond imagination. Looking down from above, everyone else was insignificant, like ants. A large character was carved on the gate, a character mentioned in the memories of the ancient god Tut, the character Wu. This gate was the Wu Immortal Gate. However, a handprint was imprinted on the gate, its edges riddled with spiderweb-like cracks. Below the gate lay countless shattered platforms. Several people occupied each platform. After Wang Lin and his 6 companions arrived, the hexagonal pattern collapsed, and the 6 were quickly propelled in one direction by a powerful force. Wang Lin was pushed straight backward, stopping on a platform about 10 meters wide. The other 5 had also chosen the broken stones nearby. As soon as he saw this place, his heart stirred. The platforms here, regardless of size, all had the same characteristics. Moreover, judging by the markings nearby, they were entirely compatible. From this, Wang Lin deduced that perhaps many years ago, before the immortal realm was destroyed, there must have been a colossal platform here. Looking at the handprint on the immortal gate, Wang Lin took a deep breath, his eyes flickering. This handprint could create cracks in the gate of the immortal realm. Its owner must have possessed immense power. Looking at the seemingly unattainable immortal gate, the slight feeling of pride that had just emerged in Wang Lin instantly vanished. Compared to those beings, he was nothing more than a futile struggle in the mud. A moment later, several people flew in from afar, landing on the broken platforms all around. Wang Lin observed them one by one. These people had different abilities, and even nascent soul cultivators appeared. This truly puzzled Wang Lin. Gradually, the number of people increased, and the platforms became insufficient. At this moment, a young man in black, after landing, immediately scanned the surroundings. He found there were no more platforms to stand on, so he subtly moved and stopped on the platform of a white-haired old man. This platform was more than 30 feet wide. Not to mention 2 people, even 12 could stand on it. But as soon as the young man stood on the platform, the old man's eyes flashed, and he said hoarsely, "Get out." The young man's face turned cold, and he was about to speak when the old man frowned, and his right hand made a clawing motion in the air. Immediately, the young man cried out in surprise and quickly retreated. Having just escaped danger, his expression was somewhat grim. He glanced warily at the old man, then turned and descended towards the edge of the high platform. On a high platform, a middle-aged man sat cross-legged. This man was Wang Lin's companion from the Vermilion Bird Star. He was sullenly drinking from a gourd, seemingly unconcerned about the presence of another person on the platform. The young man in black pondered for a moment, then sat down at the edge. His eyes flickered, occasionally glancing towards the old man. Soon after, another person flew over. This person had a gloomy expression and possessed the power of an early-stage nascent soul cultivator. After arriving, he glanced around and saw that the platform was already occupied, then skillfully flew off in another direction. His target, whether intentionally or unintentionally, was unexpectedly the location of the group from the Vermilion Bird Star. His body flashed, appearing on the platform of the man from the giant demon clan, and he coldly said, "Move aside." The giant clan man raised his head, his eyes showing disdain. His body instantly swelled, making him look like a giant. He stood up, bowing his head to the other man whose eyes showed fear, and slowly said, "There's no place." As he spoke, the axe-shaped mark on his forehead flashed rapidly. The other man was somewhat weary, glancing at the giant clan man, and slowly said, "Giant clan." He pondered for a moment, then retreated from the high platform. Immediately afterward, he appeared on the rock of Hongdai, the prodigy of the snow region. At this moment, the giant clan man tilted his head and watched, a thoughtful expression on his face. He stood on Hongdai's rock, glanced at Hongdai, then clasped his hands together and turned to leave. He had obviously discovered that Hongdai possessed the power of a late-stage god transformation cultivator, and was not someone he could trifle with. Therefore, in midair, he swept his gaze over everyone around him. The old man with white hair was the first person he ignored. As for the man drinking, since there was already another person on the platform, he also ignored him. Finally, he chose the platform where the 2 were standing, Wang Lin and a young man with bloodthirsty eyes. But he hesitated, ignoring the young man. He felt that the young man was not the type to willingly leave, and a major battle was likely. That wasn't the outcome he wanted. As for Wang Lin, he looked like a weak scholar, so he would surely be easier to deal with. This man's eyes flashed, and he flew towards Wang Lin's platform. At this moment, the middle-aged man, although drinking, also looked up. The giant demon clan man did the same, his eyes filled with even more contemplation. Hong Dai always had a vague feeling that the scholar was very familiar. But no matter how hard she thought, she couldn't recall anything. At this point, she wanted to find a clue from his cultivation techniques. The bloodthirsty youth and the white-haired old man also looked over. After all, Wang Lin, like them, came from the Vermilion Bird Star. The man standing on the high platform where Wang Lin was standing said coldly, "Fellow Taoist, please leave and choose another place," although his voice was cold. There was a hint of politeness in it. Obviously, after several humiliations, his arrogance had diminished. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. He looked at the man without speaking, then raised his right hand. Immediately, a ring shot out from his wrist. When it reached midair, it suddenly fell to the ground with a thud, transforming into a giant frog. As soon as the frog appeared, the man's expression changed, and he exclaimed, "Thunder Frog!" This Thunder Frog was one of Wang Lin's many magical treasures, and Wang Lin wasn't afraid of revealing it. After all, compared to this frog, the items inside his storage bag were his real killer moves. Using this frog to distract others, if a battle were to occur later, the opponent would naturally be wary of the frog and underestimate Wang Lin's true killing moves. Moreover, in this place, the strong are king. If he didn't reveal some of his strength to suppress others, he would definitely face endless trouble later. This was also one of the reasons Wang Lin threw out this frog. As soon as the Thunder Frog appeared, its belly immediately swelled up, and a lightning ball shot out from its mouth. The other person quickly retreated, simultaneously changing their hands continuously. Immediately, a yin-yang circle formed in front of their body, colliding with the lightning ball. The person spat out fresh blood, and their body recoiled violently. But the lightning ball was also pushed back by the yin-yang circle, shrinking to half its original size before flying back. The frog opened its mouth wide and swallowed the lightning ball, its eyes showing a cautious expression as it looked at the other person. Wang Lin sighed inwardly. He knew that every nascent soul cultivator naturally possessed their own formidable abilities, especially those who could reach this place. The other person's Dharma Huil technique was clearly very powerful. Even the lightning ball was reduced by half. It's worth noting that this lightning frog was equivalent to a nascent soul cultivator, although it was somewhat inferior to a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. It was more than enough to deal with a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. Moreover, the lightning ball's power, aside from lacking any artistic conception, was equivalent to that of a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. The other person flew far away, glancing at the lightning frog with a hint of apprehension, and couldn't help but let out a wry smile before bowing to Wang Lin. He didn't go to the other side to compete for the high platform, but instead gently sat down cross-legged. Wang Lin was somewhat surprised. This person was quite magnanimous, but he didn't know if this was genuine or just a pretense. The Snow Regent's favored daughter glanced at the Thunder Frog for a moment, then averted her gaze. As for the giant demon clan man, he pursed his lips, a hint of fighting spirit in his eyes, and nodded towards Wang Lin. Clearly, he acknowledged Wang Lin's strength. The old man blinked, then withdrew his gaze. Only the young man, whose eyes had shown bloodlust at the Thunder Frog, instantly showed a look of apprehension. His abilities were related to insects, and this electric frog was his nemesis. The middle-aged man sitting suddenly drinking wine sighed softly, muttering, "Thunder Frog water, I see the Thunder Frog again." It's a pity it's not the same one from back then. Wang Lin raised his right hand, and the Thunder Frog transformed into the beast-taming scroll, hanging on his wrist. Seeing this, everyone around fell silent. However, their gazes towards Wang Lin revealed a wary expression. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. He subtly waved his right hand, and a gourd of wine appeared in his hand. After taking a sip, he bowed his head in silence. Not long after, suddenly, wailing sounds emanated from within the gate of the immortal realm. The sounds were initially faint, but quickly grew louder, eventually almost comparable to thunder. Amidst the rumbling sounds, the gate of the immortal realm slowly opened inward. A series of golden rays of light shot out from the gap, like a dazzling halo, dispelling the surrounding darkness. Gradually, the gate of the immortal realm opened wider and wider, finally opening completely. All the cultivators around stood up without a word, and one by one flew inward, disappearing into the gate of the immortal realm. Wang Lin's eyes flickered, but he wasn't in a hurry to enter. He waited until all 5 people from the Vermilion Bird Kingdom had flown in before calmly flying up and entering the gate to the immortal realm. As he entered the gate, he immediately felt a colossal aura, like a whirlwind, roaring out from within the immortal realm. This aura had no destructive power, merely sweeping over all the cultivators passing through the gate into the immortal realm. Then, the gate to the immortal realm slowly closed. At the same time, a large jade cauldron, about 3 handspans in size, appeared before Wang Lin. Wang Lin took a deep breath and put it into his storage bag. Before entering the gate to the immortal realm, Wang Lin had spent time studying some ancient books. He knew this cauldron was called the Returning Cauldron, in special areas, with just a slight thought, after approximately the time it takes to burn an incense stick, it could be successfully activated. Afterward, one could leave the immortal realm and return to their corresponding cultivation star. After seizing the peak, Wang Lin looked up into the distance and saw a swirling vortex. A group of cultivators had vanished within it. Wang Lin's body moved slightly, flying towards the vortex. Very quickly, his entire body disappeared into it. He felt as if he were falling from the sky, his eyes filled with dazzling light. But he gritted his teeth, his eyes remaining open, witnessing a scene he would never forget in his lifetime. Beneath his feet lay countless transparent fragments. These fragments formed a circular surface, like a mirror placed on the ground. This mirror resembled the colossal immortal realm of yesteryear. Now, the immortal realm had shattered into countless small pieces. Its immortal energy completely dissipated, leaving only a few remnants on some of the fragments. Wang Lin's body was rapidly descending upon these fragments, expanding rapidly. Finally, Wang Lin clearly realized he was landing next to a fragment. As soon as he landed, Wang Lin instantly potted his storage bag, and a bronze bell appeared in his hand. This object was one of the 3 treasures of ancient cultivators in the land of ancient gods, which he had refined. It could change size and trap enemies. After landing, Wang Lin looked around in astonishment, his heart shaken. There was no sign of life here. The ground was covered in dry grass. In the distance stood a tall mountain, but only half of its peak remained, the cut incredibly smooth, obviously caused by human power. At the foot of the mountain was a palace, but it had completely collapsed, becoming a pile of ruins. Half of the mountain now rested on top of the palace. From afar, the two, one large and one small, resembled a mother and child mountain range. On the ground, several large, bottomless pits could be seen. In some places, a white mist even billowed into the air. This was a world of eerie silence. This is the immortal realm, Wang Lin pondered for a moment, murmuring. Although he knew the immortal realm had been destroyed, standing here now, Wang Lin felt a little disbelieving. In ancient times, when one's abilities reached the late stage of the god transformation realm, they could sense the call of the immortal realm and enter it to cultivate. The immortal realm was a sacred place for all cultivators, untouchable and inviolable. But now, as Wang Lin looked around, he fell silent. After a long while, he took a deep breath, his gaze fixed on the distant palace complex. He moved slightly and flew forward. Although it didn't seem far as he flew, Wang Lin discovered an invisible resistance in the air, making it difficult for his flying technique to reach a certain speed. After a long while, Wang Lin finally arrived at this palace complex. Standing close to the ruins, Wang Lin was deeply moved. From these ruins, Wang Lin could imagine how wealthy the immortal realm must have been in the past. Surprisingly, all the building materials for this palace were spirit stones. Wang Lin had seen the use of spirit stones to construct buildings before. Back in the Chu Kingdom, Li Muan's residence was also built with spirit stones, but that place was still far inferior to the ruins before him, like heaven and earth. Looking at the vast complex of palaces, Wang Lin couldn't see its boundaries. Although this place was now just a ruin, one could imagine how astonishing it must have been in the past. However, after so many years, these spirit stones had naturally lost all their use. In some places, even stepping on them would instantly cause them to crumble into tiny fragments and vanish. Wang Lin sighed softly. This is the immortal realm walking through the ruins. A sense of melancholy arose in Wang Lin's heart. Here, there was not a trace of the immortal energy he expected, only a feeling of sorrow. Wang Lin stopped in the middle of the palace complex. He looked ahead in astonishment. There was a vast area deeply indented. Upon closer inspection, he could see a handprint. Wang Lin felt a shock. Seeing this handprint immediately reminded him of the handprint on the gate of the martial arts. A single palm strike could instantly collapse such a large area if it were on the Vermilion Bird Star. Wang Lin admitted he could do the same. But remember, this was the Immortal Realm. The Immortal Realm's stability is countless times greater than that of the cultivation world. Furthermore, those who live here are all powerful cultivators with abilities at or above the nascent soul stage, capable of absorbing immortal energy. Therefore, this handprint must possess something truly terrifying. At this moment, Wang Lin knelt down beside the handprint. He pressed his right hand down on it, and immediately a deadly aura emanated from within, instantly flowing into Wang Lin's arm. Wang Lin's life and death intent immediately activated. After a long while, he took a deep breath, his eyes filled with immense fear. He had just discovered a trace of energy remaining in the handprint, so he had tried to sense it himself. But the more he sensed, the more he realized how powerful the opponent was. Wang Lin stood up, his eyes flickering, and raised his right hand to place it on the handprint from a distance. After a long while, he shook his head, leaving the place behind, and continued walking through the ruins. After wandering through these ruins for a few days, Wang Lin spotted a stone tablet with one side broken. Inscribed on it were several large characters. The fifth immortal king of the martial realm bestows this upon immortal Tianhua below. It was clearly stated that immortal Tianhua had rendered great service, so the immortal king of the martial realm used his divine power to create this palace as a gift. The palace was constructed according to a formation. Cultivating within it allowed one to absorb all the immortal energy within a radius of 100,000 miles, doubling the effect. Wang Lin read through it, his heart trembling. Although he didn't know the status of an immortal in the immortal realm, it was clearly incomparable to that of an immortal king. If an immortal could possess such a massive palace complex, what would the residence of an immortal king be like? He was about to leave when his eyes suddenly flashed, and he abruptly turned. Staring intently at the stone tablet, he carefully examined the stone tablet. At first glance, it seemed perfectly ordinary, with nothing unusual about it. But Wang Lin's gaze swept over each character. Why did the Heavenly Flower Immortal have to build a palace here? Moreover, this stone tablet was originally a landmark for outsiders to see. So why was it placed here? This was an area within a pile of ruins. Placing a stone tablet here was truly inappropriate. Wang Lin raised his eyebrows, his right hand pointed into the air, and a stream of energy instantly shot into the stone tablet. Immediately, the crack on the stone tablet widened. Wang Lin patted his storage bag, and a swarm of flying swords appeared. Controlled by his divine consciousness, the flying swords quickly chiseled at the tablet. A series of metallic clanging sounds emanated from the tablet. Although many years had passed and it had been damaged by the palm strike, the stone tablet still retained a certain degree of hardness. After a long while, the stone tablet was finally leveled by the flying sword. Wang Lin lowered his head and gazed intently at the end of the stone tablet embedded in the ground, his eyebrows furrowed. At first glance, it seemed unremarkable, but Wang Lin still felt something was amiss. His eyes flashed, and he fiercely grabbed the top with his large hand, immediately causing a series of rumbling sounds. Under Wang Lin's full force, the stone tablet was pulled up little by little. Therefore, a fragment of the immortal realm that no one has ever entered is absolutely as rare as a phoenix feather or a unicorn horn. Basically, the vast majority of fragments of the immortal realm bear the footprints of cultivators. This stone tablet was originally a sealed tablet. Previously, it must have been placed outside a palace or altar, but now it has been thrown out here, and the exposed part shows signs of being buried underground for a long time. Wang Lin already knew the reason for this phenomenon. This sealed tablet must have been brought here by a cultivator who wanted to conceal some secret when the gate to the immortal realm opened last time. Otherwise, this stone tablet could not have such buried traces. It should be known that if this stone tablet had never been moved, over the long period of time, it should have gradually dried up and cracked, absolutely not like now. After thinking it through, Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he let out a soft shout, his right hand forcefully grabbing forward. He immediately grabbed the long, several-foot-long stone tablet and lifted it to one side. As soon as the seal was seized, a pure stream of immortal energy suddenly rose from the ground. This stream of immortal energy wasn't very large, and after appearing, it gradually began to dissipate. Wang Lin's face lit up with joy, and he quickly reached out to grasp this stream of immortal energy, concentrating his mind to refine it. Just then, a sudden sound of wind tearing through the air came from afar. A bolt of lightning struck from the sky. Within the lightning bolt appeared a massive octagonal formation. A cultivator in a green robe, with a precious sword on his back, emerged from the formation. As soon as he appeared, he immediately rushed towards the ruins, seemingly already aware of his target. Wang Lin noticed this. He raised his eyebrows, ignoring the rapidly approaching figure, calmly concentrating his mind and continuing his refinement. The wisp of immortal energy, under Wang Lin's refinement, slowly condensed, transforming into a drop of liquid the size of a grain of rice. Wang Lin knew that this immortal energy had to be refined using one's own primordial spirit, forming a crystal like a spirit stone to be preserved. However, the time required for refinement varied depending on the strength of one's cultivation. The green-robed cultivator, moving at an extremely fast speed, noticed the abnormality from afar and instantly changed his expression, shouting, "Stop!" As he spoke, he unleashed some kind of spell, instantly increasing his speed several times, rushing forward. Wang Lin ignored him. Both the cultivator and he were at the early stage of the transformation god realm. He felt no fear whatsoever, instead calculating the time it would take for the other party to arrive, concentrating on refining his energy. The green-robed cultivator, seeing from afar that Wang Lin not only didn't stop, but instead increased the speed of his refining, couldn't help but fly towards him. Roaring angrily, "This place was discovered by our great Luo sword sect 3,000 years ago. If you stubbornly persist, you will face the pursuit of our great Luo sword sect." Although Wang Lin couldn't hear the entirety of the voice from afar, he understood its meaning. He sneered. Does everything in the world have an owner? Especially the energy of this immortal realm. It's even more of an ownerless thing. This person's words were truly absurd. He quickly swung his right hand, and the bronze ring on his wrist flew out, transforming with a loud bang into a large green toad. The thunder toad appeared, puffing out its belly, and bursts of thunderous sounds emanated from within. Immediately afterward, a huge thunderball shot out from its mouth, roaring towards the green-robed cultivator. The green-robed cultivator's face changed drastically. He was extremely wary of this incoming thunderball. He patted the sword behind his back. The sword instantly unsheathed, like the sun appearing, radiating a dazzling light that soared above his head. The green-robed cultivator clasped his hands together, fiercely pointing at the lightning ball. Immediately, the sword suddenly slashed downwards. A massive sword energy shot out from the sword in an instant, like a blade splitting the heavens and earth, striking straight down. Its speed was incredibly fast, instantly hitting the lightning ball. A thunderous roar erupted, and the lightning ball was unexpectedly split in two, falling to either side and creating two large craters in the ground, emitting thick smoke. The green-robed cultivator's face flushed slightly, blood surging up, but he swallowed it down. This sword was one of the 7 swords of the Great Luo Sword Sect, a top-tier spiritual weapon. If he were fighting someone with lower cultivation, he could wield it effortlessly. Even against a cultivator of the same level, he could kill the enemy simply by controlling the sword energy within the sword. But Lei Oa was, after all, equivalent to a peak mid-stage nascent soul expert. Although it lacked the consciousness of an expert, its lightning power was not something a cultivator could use. It was a special attack technique bestowed upon it by the heavens. Therefore, he ultimately suffered a bitter defeat. He urged his treasured sword, attacking with the intention of inflicting 1,000 wounds on the enemy while suffering 800 himself. Thanks to Lei O's obstruction, Wang Lin finally succeeded in refining this ray of immortal energy. A small, rice grain-sized purple crystal appeared in his hand. This tiny crystal was equivalent to half of Zhao Kingdom's spiritual power. Feeling the spiritual power within it, Wang Lin couldn't help but feel a little apprehensive. He flicked his right hand, collecting the crystal into his storage bag, then coldly looked up at the green-robed cultivator. Beneath this stone tablet lies the formation of the ancient palace's array. Although this array has been shattered, it still retains some effectiveness, absorbing the surrounding immortal energy day after day, transforming it into a pure stream of immortal energy. The Great Luo Sword Sect obviously knew about this, which is why they used this stone tablet to cover it up, preventing others from discovering it. Afterward, every time the gate to the immortal realm opened, they sent people here to collect immortal energy. The reason they couldn't use any other restrictions and could only use this object to cover it up is because any restrictions would generate fluctuations in magical power. No matter how small the fluctuations, those who can enter the immortal realm are all cultivators with extraordinary cultivation. Obviously, with this trick, if they are careful, this place will be exposed. It's better not to use restrictions and just cover it up with the stone tablet. The secrecy is far greater. A cold smile appeared on Wang Lin's lips as he placed his right hand over the opening of the cave. With a crackling sound, the remaining immortal energy condensed within the formation instantly shattered, rendering it impossible to operate again. Since he couldn't avoid provoking the Great Luo Sword sect and seizing their immortal energy, the other party would certainly not give up their intentions towards him. Wang Lin simply uprooted the problem completely, destroying the formation's eye, preventing them from harvesting immortal energy and thus creating more powerful experts. The green robe cultivator pointed directly at Wang Lin, shouting loudly, then activated the treasured sword above his head, fiercely pointing it at Wang Lin without a word. The treasured sword flashed with a dazzling golden light, and with a light swing, a sword energy twice as large as before descended from the sky, as if to split heaven and earth. After this strike, the man spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, visibly weakened. Without looking at the result, he immediately turned and left, clutching his sword. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and without a word, he pointed at his forehead. Instantly, a black light flashed from his forehead, transforming into a swarm of wandering souls, howling and rushing into the air, colliding with the sword energy. At the same time, Leo roared in anger, swelling up again, spitting out a much larger lightning ball than before, howling as it sped away. Trying to escape, Wang Lin patted his storage bag, and the Forbidden's banner appeared in his hand. The Forbidden's banner had now reached its peak, its power obviously much stronger. As soon as it appeared, it transformed into a black mist, enveloping Wang Lin, and then suddenly charged forward. The enormous sword energy struck down, first being met by the hundreds of wandering souls. Although the wandering souls were instantly dispersed upon approaching, the combined power of hundreds of wandering souls was not insignificant, causing the sword energy to shrink by 1/5, and its radiance dimmed. Then Lei's lightning ball slammed into the sword energy. The lightning ball transformed into a screen of light and then disappeared. But the sword energy was shattered, shrinking several times, and its radiance dimmed to the point of being almost invisible. Finally, by the time Wang Lin's Forbidden's banner arrived, the sword energy no longer posed any threat to him, easily dispersed by several layers of Forbidden's energy. Wang Lin, surrounded by the Forbidden's banner, did not stop but pursued the fleeing green-robed cultivator. As the green-robed cultivator ran, his divine consciousness swept behind him, and his eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't believe that the opponent had so easily neutralized his sword energy. This terrified him. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged, his eyes calm. The opponent's treasured sword was somewhat peculiar, and its sword energy was very powerful. If he hadn't prepared before entering the immortal realm, he would have likely been injured by this sword energy today. A nascent soul cultivator capable of entering the immortal realm is not to be underestimated. Wang Lin understood this once again. Under the cover of the Forbidden's banner, Wang Lin's speed was extremely fast. The distance between him and the green-robed cultivator quickly shortened. The green-robed cultivator's face darkened, and he used that unknown secret technique to accelerate. His speed instantly increased several times, and he quickly arrived at the formation. He made a hand gesture, and the formation appeared there. He breathed a sigh of relief and was about to enter the formation. There were many fragments of the immortal realm. He could choose one at random to teleport away, and the other party obviously couldn't catch up. Wait there, this time our Great Luo Sword sect has 4 people. I'm just the one with the lowest cultivation. Wait until I call my senior brother over, and with a twin sword strike, you absolutely won't be able to leave the gates of the immortal realm. He gave a cold smile. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and his body suddenly disappeared into the black mist of the Forbidden's banner, undetectable by anyone. After all, the green-robed cultivator's divine consciousness was only at the early stage of the transformation god realm, while Wang Lin's was equivalent to the late stage of the transformation god realm. Although their cultivation levels were the same, the difference in divine consciousness was too great. That was also the reason why Wang Lin immediately detected him the moment he appeared. It took him a while to detect Wang Lin, The green-robed cultivator stepped inside the formation, turned his head to look at the black mist rapidly approaching from afar, and a cold smile appeared on his lips. But at this moment, Wang Lin's figure suddenly reappeared. As soon as he appeared, he immediately threw out a bell. The monk in the green robe instantly turned pale. He couldn't believe his opponent had caught up so quickly. While he was still stunned, the bell grew larger in the strong wind, transforming into a massive bronze bell several meters tall, powerfully descending and seizing the monk. At this moment, Wang Lin flicked his right hand, and the forbidden banner fell into his grasp. He shook his hand again, and the bell, along with the monk inside, instantly vanished, reappearing on the ground. "You can't escape." Wang Lin's voice was calm, as if speaking to himself. He sat down cross-legged, his hands forming a series of incantations, and unleashed a series of spells towards the bell. The bell vibrated, and a series of clanging sounds emanated from within. These sounds didn't spread outwards much, but were mainly concentrated inside. However, interspersed among these clanging sounds were agonizing screams. Not long after, the bell vibrated even more intensely. Besides the clanging sound, there were also sounds of smashing, clearly indicating that the greedy monk was unwilling to be refined and was using the power of his treasured sword to try and break the treasure from the inside. Wang Lin understood the sharpness of that treasured sword. Whether the bell could withstand it was uncertain. He snorted softly, his hands moving faster in his incantations. As each incantation fell upon the bell's sound grew louder and its frequency increased. At the same time, the sounds of counterattacks became fainter and fainter. This bell was an ancient treasure of ancient cultivators. Its purpose was to capture people and then use incantations to refine them. It could even completely refine their primordial spirits. Of course, the conditions still depended on the person being refined. If the cultivation level of the person being refined was too high, the owner could very likely suffer a backlash. After a nascent soul cultivator forms their primordial spirit, unless surrounded in a one-on-one fight, even if they win, it's very difficult to completely kill their opponent. However, if a late-stage nascent soul cultivator attacks, it's no joke. Of course, if they are extremely weakened, it's a different story. For example, Meng Tuozi was only killed by Wang Lin when he was extremely weakened and fell under the golden bone of the giant Wine King. As Wang Lin struck the bell with his hand seals, a mournful cry echoed from within, then gradually faded and finally disappeared completely. Wang Lin didn't stop but continued refining for a while longer before withdrawing his hand. With a flick of his right hand, the bell quickly shrunk and fell into his hand, then was put into his storage bag. Wang Lin wasn't in a hurry to open the bell to examine it. In his opinion, although the green-robed cultivator was truly dead, he must have wanted to retaliate before dying. The final blow of the nascent soul stage cultivator was extremely terrifying. With Wang Lin's cautious nature, how could he easily risk opening it to examine it? He placed it in his storage bag, allowing the bell to continue its refining process for 10 days to half a month, or even longer, ensuring that the final blow of this cultivator was in its infancy. This move by Wang Lin was truly ingenious. He stood up, the thunder cauldron already retracted, transforming into a bronze scroll that returned to his wrist. He pondered for a moment, intending to carefully search this fragment of the immortal realm once more. At this moment, Wang Lin's expression changed. He immediately activated the protective barrier of the forbidden banner, sat down cross-legged, patted his storage bag, and took out several pills, putting them into his mouth. The spiritual power in his body was absorbed by the bronze scroll at an extremely rapid pace, only stopping after a long time. Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes, and after swallowing a few more pills, he finally replenished his spiritual power. At first it was 6 times a day, but lately it's only once every 4 days. Although the Thunder Frog is useful, raising it consumes too much spiritual power. I need to be more careful in the future and circulate my spiritual power early. Otherwise, if this situation arises during a battle, it would be very dangerous, Wang Lin muttered. He stood up and flew towards the palace. After carefully searching there without finding anything, Wang Lin flew further away to continue his search. This fragment of the immortal realm was neither large nor small, almost equivalent to the Zhao Kingdom. His divine consciousness could basically cover the entire area. However, divine consciousness couldn't detect immortal energy unless it was at a very close distance, otherwise, it was useless. Wang Lin spent a month exploring this fragment of the immortal realm, finally finishing it all. Except for the palace he encountered at the beginning, he didn't encounter any other structures. Everywhere on the ground, one could find large craters, vaguely reflecting the great catastrophe that befell the immortals that year. One day, Wang Lin arrived at a certain mountain peak. Although this mountain was very high, its shape was somewhat peculiar. To be precise, it looked like a giant lock. The mountain was quite well preserved. Only many of the trees on the outside had completely withered and died. As soon as Wang Lin touched them, the tree trunks immediately turned into dust. Looking at the dense trees on this mountain, Wang Lin smiled wryly. How wonderful it would be if these trees hadn't died. These trees were all thousands of years old, some even over 10,000 years old. If he used this wood to make wooden statues, Wang Lin was confident that the statue's power would increase several times over. What a pity! Wang Lin felt a little unwilling. He searched every place, finally examining all the trees on the mountain, and then reluctantly sighed. On the mountaintop, he discovered a cave. The main gate of this cave dwelling was shattered, covered in dust and ashes inside and out. This place wasn't mysterious, and Wang Lin didn't expect to find a cave dwelling that hadn't been explored before. The cave wasn't large, only 7 or 8 stone chambers. Wang Lin examined the interior, finding it empty and devoid of anything. It was likely someone had cleaned it out previously. He had mentally prepared himself before entering, so although he didn't find anything, it didn't affect his mood. His main purpose in entering was to see if the cave dwelling contained any damaged Forbidden formations. He wanted to see what kind of immortals Forbidden formations they were, if he could understand even a little. It would be of great help to his mastery of the 999 Forbidden formations of the Forbidden Banner. After careful examination, he discovered that almost all the restrictions had dissipated into the heavens and earth. But this wasn't absolute. In a stone chamber, Wang Lin was delighted to find a trace of a remaining restriction. This restriction wasn't very strong, only serving to prevent others from entering the room. Although it had been broken, a trace of its aura still lingered on the stone wall. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he began to study it. The restrictions of the immortals were somewhat similar to the ancient restrictions Wang Lin possessed. However, their structure was slightly different. In fact, the restrictions were formations, just more flexible than formations. 3 days later, Wang Lin left the cave dwelling. He had memorized the trace of the restriction. Descending the mountain, Wang Lin prepared to leave when he suddenly recoiled in shock. All the trees on the mountain, along with his own observations, had turned to dust. But now, that dust was floating in midair, as if some mysterious force was causing it to move slowly. Wang Lin showed no expression, slowly flying upwards. While flying, he looked down, and his eyes immediately widened. From this vantage point, he saw that the dust had unexpectedly formed two words. "Save me." Wang Lin raised his eyebrows. After the dust slowly dissipated, Wang Lin discovered that the mountain, viewed from above, looked even more like a lock. And the cave was the keyhole. Wang Lin pondered for a moment, not wanting to investigate further. This place was rather strange. He didn't want to delve into it. Most importantly, Wang Lin believed he wasn't the first to see the anomaly of this mountain. So why, after countless years, had the mountain remained unchanged? Wang Lin didn't want to investigate any further. His body slowly retreated, flying into the distance. Even if there was an immortal locked inside, Wang Lin couldn't disregard life and death and be tempted by greed. A few days later, Wang Lin searched this fragment of the immortal realm once again, but still couldn't find the immortal realm's energy. Therefore, he decided to leave and explore another fragment. Before leaving, Wang Lin fully recharged the beast-taming scroll with spiritual power. Then, remembering the green-robed cultivator who had teleported here, he paused for a moment before taking out the bell. Wang Lin knew the method of leaving this fragment of the immortal realm, flying higher and higher until breaking through the limits of the sky would return him to the flow within the immortal realm's gate. Continuing along that flow would then lead him to another fragment of the immortal realm. However, the method by which the green-robed cultivator appeared here was extremely strange. He unexpectedly used teleportation to get here. This led Wang Lin to a bold speculation. Some ancient sects, having repeatedly entered the gates of the immortal realm, had constructed a few teleportation arrays, allowing their disciples to search these fragments. Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he threw the bell in his hand forward, simultaneously performing a series of hand gestures to refine it once more. 2 days later, Wang Lin calculated that even if this nascent soul cultivator fought back desperately in his dying moments, he would have been completely refined. Thinking this, he waved his right hand, and the bell instantly enlarged. Then, with a loud bang, 7-colored energy emanated from the bottom of the bell, slowly opening. Inside, a storage bag and a precious sword remained. However, the moment it opened, the sword let out a resounding clang. A sword energy as thick as an arm shot out. Wang Lin sneered, pointing his finger. The sword energy dissipated. A cry of unwillingness came from within. The remaining primordial spirit power also vanished. It turned out that the primordial spirit of the green-robed cultivator had hidden within the sword before dying, preparing to deliver one last blow. But as time passed, he was slowly refined, his primordial spirit gradually giving way. This final blow was easily neutralized by Wang Lin, killing him in its infancy. Wang Lin's divine consciousness swept over this ancient and adorned sword, and he was instantly moved, then showed immense joy. He took a deep breath and carefully put the sword into his storage bag. Wang Lin already knew that this sword possessed immense power, but he didn't expect that its structure, though different from the Forbidden's banner, had the same effect. Countless Forbidden's formations were engraved inside the sword. These Forbidden's formations all possessed offensive attributes, which is why this sword was so powerful. Wang Lin examined them briefly and found that most of the offensive Forbidden's formations inside the sword were ones he had never encountered before. 3 Forbidden's formations formed a group totaling 300 groups. These formations obviously couldn't be understood in a short time. Wang Lin suppressed the urge to study them immediately, then took the storage bag of the green-robed cultivator. His consciousness swept through the contents of the bag, and a strange expression appeared on his face once again. In the immortal realm, killing people to seize treasures is truly tempting. After a long while, Wang Lin sighed. The storage bag contained only 3 items: a jade slip, a wooey cauldron, and finally, top-grade spirit stones. However, the quantity of top-grade spirit stones was enormous, over several hundred. Hundreds of top-grade spirit stones. Even with Wang Lin's strong willpower, he couldn't help but be astonished. Subconsciously, he looked around and immediately couldn't help but smile self-deprecatingly. It seems my willpower is still insufficient. Actually, it's hard to blame Wang Lin. After all, top-grade spirit stones were extremely rare on the Vermilion Bird Star. In fact, even on the Great Luo sect on the cultivation planet, top-grade spirit stones weren't abundant. However, the Great Luo sect was a 1,000-year-old sect, so they obviously had some reserves. After reading the jade slip, Wang Lin completely understood everything. The Great Luo sect, through numerous incursions and expeditions to the Immortal Realm, had found a total of 37 fragments of the Immortal Realm. Moreover, each of these 37 fragments contained a secret teleportation array. However, since teleportation arrays are used within the Immortal Realm, ordinary spirit stones cannot be used. Only top-grade spirit stones can. That's also why the green-robed cultivator's storage bag contained so many top-grade spirit stones. Thanks to this, Wang Lin knew that cultivators who had entered multiple times, like the Great Luo sect, possessed teleportation arrays. Only first-time visitors or solitary monks choose to fly up and then enter the stream from within. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He picked up the Void Return Cauldron. This cauldron must be used within the cultivation planet. If he used this, would he know whether to return to the Vermilion Bird Planet or the Great Luo sect? Wang Lin pondered for a moment, then put away the Void Return Cauldron, keeping it separate from his own. Otherwise, if he accidentally took the wrong one and flew back to the Great Luo sect, it would be too dangerous. Then Wang Lin threw the jade slip in his hand. With a movement of his divine consciousness, the jade slip flashed with light. A formation slowly appeared in the air. There were 2 indentations on the formation, obviously places to place spirit stones. Wang Lin didn't say a word, took out 2 top-grade spirit stones, and waved his hand. The spirit stones fell into the correct positions. Following that, the formation began to operate. The light on the jade slip grew brighter, and a hazy map appeared on it. This image was all too familiar to Wang Lin. It was something cultivators saw during their journey into the Immortal Realm, resembling a large, shattered mirror. The image contained countless small gray dots, contrasting with 37 bright points of light. Looking at this image, Wang Lin recalled the moment he descended from the stream into this fragment of the immortal realm. His eyes lit up. He had found his location. He pointed his right hand at a fragment, and instantly the entire image vanished. The formation fully activated, and then Wang Lin's body disappeared into thin air. On the edge of this fragment of the immortal realm, ravaged by a raging storm, a massive fissure appeared on the horizon. A furious, icy wind howled, seemingly engulfing the entire world under its power. This place has no mountains, only a vast desert. Thousands of years ago, this place once had mountains and rivers, but after a catastrophe, the Xuanfeng Immortal Sword, the treasure of an immortal, was dropped here, cutting through space and forming this spatial rift. As for the sword itself, after tearing through space, it shattered instantly, transforming into a violent, endless wind that swept through this vast expanse of heaven and earth. At this moment, a formation appeared in the violet sky. The formation's light flickered, forming a protective barrier, blocking the wind from the outside. However, this barrier quickly shook violently, seemingly on the verge of being crushed at any moment. Wang Lin's figure appeared within the formation. He focused his gaze, immediately frowning. This place was far inferior to the previous fragment. The previous fragment had suffered some damage, but this one was completely destroyed. Logically speaking, why would the Great Luo sect set up a teleportation array in a place like this? Wang Lin pondered for a moment, watching the protective barrier flicker more and more intensely. His body flashed, and he rushed out of the array. The moment he emerged, Wang Lin felt as if his body was being cut by a knife. The array behind him slowly disappeared, concealing itself in a peculiar way. Now, only the howling wind remained, as if countless figures were wailing incessantly all around him. This feeling intensified within Wang Lin, becoming increasingly clear. He landed on the sand for a moment, then suddenly felt a sense of unease and turned sharply to look behind him. Behind him, amidst the howling wind, a series of dark figures appeared. Wang Lin was startled. He saw these dark figures, but his divine sense detected nothing. Without another word, he potted his storage bag, and the Forbidden's banner appeared in his hand. At this moment, the dark figures gradually became clearer. Wang Lin's expression turned strange. It turned out that those figures were beautiful and charming women. These women wore dazzling 7-colored robes. Behind them was a group of young boys carrying trays laden with countless immortal fruits and fine wines. They laughed and talked as they approached Wang Lin. Wang Lin raised his eyebrows. He only saw them laughing and talking, but the strange thing was that he couldn't hear any sound. They were getting closer and closer. Wang Lin's eyes widened. He noticed several dark figures appearing in the sky above them. These figures slowly emerged. They were young men. They were riding on auspicious clouds, flying alongside the group as if protecting them, their eyes scanning in all directions. Wang Lin took a deep breath and retracted the Forbidden's banner. The figures were approaching him, but Wang Lin didn't dodge, allowing them to pass by him. One of the pupils suddenly passed right through Wang Lin. Only when the group had gone far away did Wang Lin give a wry smile. He had just realized that it wasn't a real person, but an illusion. This fragment of the immortal realm possessed a strange power, capable of creating illusions of certain scenes from the immortal realm of the past. Wang Lin watched the figures receding into the distance, a sense of melancholy washing over him. These people from the past had vanished like the wind, leaving only this illusion behind. What exactly happened to the immortal realm back then? Why was it destroyed to this extent? This question made Wang Lin's heart pound. He silently gazed at the illusion in the distance. These people walked further and further away. After a while, they stopped. Wang Lin, following behind them, carefully observed and noticed that where they stopped, the illusion changed. A magnificent palace appeared, filled with numerous banquet tables laden with fine wines and immortal fruits. Seated at these tables were several immortal beings with a dignified and refined demeanor. They sometimes chatted and laughed, sometimes gestured with their hands, and spells flew from their fingertips, seemingly trying to demonstrate something. Wang Lin gazed at the scene before him, immediately captivated by the spells performed by these immortal beings. He took a deep breath. These people didn't need any incantations. All their spells appeared at a mere gesture, incredibly natural, wielding the power of heaven and earth with complete ease. At this moment, one of them stood up, his face showing anger, pointed at another, shouted a few words, and then raised his hand. A purple lightning ball appeared. He pointed at the lightning ball and hurled it straight into the sky. The lightning ball instantly flew out of the main hall, straight towards the sky. Wang Lin's gaze followed the lightning ball. But suddenly, the illusion of a beautiful sunny sky and dancing cranes appeared, and a strange phenomenon occurred. A black lightning bolt streaked across the sky, transforming into a huge fist at incredible speed, striking the lightning ball. The lightning ball shattered instantly, but the fist did not stop and continued to strike down. Everyone in the palace's faces changed drastically. Two people reacted extremely quickly and flew out of the palace to investigate. At this moment, the hand formed from the lightning bolt struck down. With just one punch, the bodies of all the immortals were shattered, and the entire palace collapsed, turning into dust. Only the two people who flew out first, their bodies flashing with seven-colored light, blocked the fist. Their faces turned pale, and at this moment, a blue sword light pierced through the void on the horizon, tearing open a large spatial rift. Dark energy poured out from the crack. Immediately afterward, a large hand materialized from the sky, gently grasping the sword and lightly stroking it. The sword shattered with just a touch, transforming into several points of blue light that vanished into the spatial rift. However, within the blue light, the scabbard did not shatter but flew away through the spatial rift. But at this moment, the hand that had just crushed the immortal sword suddenly flipped over and pressed downwards. The ground trembled. A silver light suddenly shot out from the hand. This silver light descended from the sky, soaring forward. Wang Lin, immersed in the illusion, was greatly shaken. In the instant the silver light appeared, a feeling surged within him. His expression changed, and his right hand quickly swung up. The beast scroll flew out, transforming into a thunder frog, spitting out a lightning ball, striking directly at the silver light. A series of rumbling sounds echoed throughout the heavens and earth. Li Washington let out a low growl and retreated several hundred feet. Wang Lin's face darkened. He soared into the air, stepping on Lei Wei's head, and looked up at the woman behind the silver light. Hong Dai, Wang Lin snarled. Just now, he was immersed in the illusion, and this woman appeared out of nowhere, unexpectedly launching a sneak attack without a word. If Wang Lin's divine consciousness hadn't reached the late stage of the god transformation realm, he would have thought the silver light was an illusion and would have been instantly killed by this woman. Hong Dai's face was icy cold, her eyes calm and composed as she looked at Wang Lin, slowly saying, "You do know me. Tell me, who exactly are you?" Wang Lin's gaze was calm as he stared at the woman, smiling, the prodigy daughter of the Snow Region Kingdom. Who doesn't know her? Hong Dai's expression remained unchanged, coldly saying, "Not going to tell." "Then you'll stay here today." As she spoke, the woman raised her right hand. A silver light flashed in her palm. She stared coldly at Wang Lin. Wang Lin laughed heartily, his eyes gleaming, and said, "I heard that Miss Hong Dai cultivated from immortal to the late stage of the god transformation realm within 100 years. 100 years may seem short, but for a mortal, it's a lifetime. I wonder if your parents are still healthy." Hong Dai raised her eyebrows, and the silver light in her hand flashed. In an instant, the sky was filled with silver light heading towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin patted Li Washington. Li Washington immediately puffed out its belly and spat out a lightning ball. While the lightning ball was still in midair, Wang Lin softly shouted, "Explode!" Immediately, the lightning ball self-destructed, transforming into countless bolts of lightning that collided with the silver light. After blocking the attack, Wang Lin immediately retreated, flying into the distance. As for Li Washington, after spitting out the lightning ball, it also immediately retreated with Wang Lin. "Hong Dai, I wonder if your parents have any other daughters besides you. If not, wouldn't there be no one to attend your funeral? Of the 3 unfilial acts, this is the first," Wang Lin said loudly as he retreated. Hong Dai's eyebrows furrowed, and she coldly watched Wang Lin as he moved further and further away. Then she dashed after him. At the same time, she raised her right hand, and a flying sword appeared above her head. With a flick of her finger, the sword transformed into a rainbow, shooting away at an extremely fast speed. This flying sword carried an aura of utter ruthlessness. Wherever it passed, countless snowflakes vaguely appeared and slowly fell. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he suddenly potted his storage bag. The Forbidden's banner appeared in his hand, and black mist immediately filled the surroundings. At the same time, streams of forbidden energy roared out from the black mist, transforming into evil dragons, aiming at the flying sword. Then, instead of retreating, Wang Lin's body instantly vanished into the black mist. When he reappeared, he was more than 10 meters behind Hong Dai. He formed a hand seal, and a stream of spiritual power instantly emanated from his body, creating a flow of energy in front of him. The essence of life and death radiated from this energy flow. Hong Dai frowned again, coldly snorting, "You don't know your place." After saying that, she raised her right hand and fiercely struck forward. Instantly, 5 streams of icy energy shot out from her fingertips, transforming into 5 snow-capped mountains in midair, crashing down with a thunderous roar. This snow is born in the sky, dies on the earth. Under the influence of the energy flow, Wang Lin's eyes were incredibly calm. Although the opponent was a late-stage god transformation cultivator, if she wanted to kill him, he could still fight. The stream carrying the essence of life and death instantly grew larger. The 5 snow-capped mountains, which had been covering him in a flash, immediately melted away, shrinking to half their size before falling into the stream. The moment the snow-capped mountains touched the stream, a surge of emotionless intent rushed into Wang Lin's body. His face instantly turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The blood instantly turned into a block of ice. Wang Lin felt as if his body was enveloped in icy coldness. He recalled his parents and loved ones, and suddenly felt a sense of relief. Wang Lin's heart remained calm. He knew that once all the familial affection in his memories vanished, and he was affected by this emotionless intent, he would become a killer. Moreover, his life and death would completely depend on the one who had given him this seed of intent, Hong Dai. The essence of life and death immediately circulated within his body. All the memories of his mortal life, the life and death of his parents, condensed in his heart. Relying on a momentary burst of clarity, Wang Lin shouted, 100 years is a lifetime for a mortal. How can you allow your parents, your closest relatives, to be destroyed by the heavenly Tao? Hong Dai, even if your parents enter reincarnation, they will always follow you. Do you dare to look back? Hong Dai's expression remained unchanged, but Wang Lin clearly sensed a ruthless intent slightly loosening. His life and death intent immediately surged wildly, and at the same time, he vanished from his spot, reappearing hundreds of feet above Laoa, swiftly fleeing. He still held the Forbidden's banner in his hand. After shaking it, over 100 evil dragons formed from Forbidden's artifacts flew out from within, attacking Hong Dai. Wang Lin took a moment, finally forcing that ruthless intent out of his body, feeling completely relieved and unimpeded. At this moment, his expression turned grim. That was truly dangerous just now. Even the slightest carelessness would have surely led to reincarnation, leaving no room to defy the heavenly Tao. The mental state of a late-stage nascent soul cultivator is indeed powerful. Wang Lin took a deep breath. In fact, from the moment Hong Dai launched her sneak attack, Wang Lin and she had already begun their battle. Wang Lin saw that this ice-clear technique clearly required the complete crushing and refining of all emotions during cultivation, ultimately leading to a state of heart as cold as ice, utterly devoid of emotion. That was Hong Dai's heart. Since witnessing this ice-clear technique all those years ago, Wang Lin had always wondered why Hong Dai, despite her exceptionally outstanding talent, must have had an indelible flaw in other aspects. Years of cultivation are not long, even with a firm Tao heart. It cannot compare to those old monsters who have cultivated for hundreds of years. Moreover, in 100 years, all of this woman's worldly feelings could not have been completely eradicated. Therefore, Wang Lin's mention of her parents was intended to stir up a glimmer of memory in this woman, using it to destroy her Tao heart. Only then would he have a chance of winning. However, this woman's Tao heart was also very firm. She remained unfazed by Wang Lin's words several times. It wasn't until under Wang Lin's life and death gaze that she suddenly paused. Wang Lin knew his words had succeeded. Although he didn't say much, and the effect wasn't obvious, he had planted a seed in her heart. As long as this seed wasn't destroyed, this woman couldn't undergo the transformation. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He knew that with Hong Dai's talent, this seed certainly couldn't last long. But if he stimulated her more, proving that his own life and death understanding was the true path, and that the emotionless understanding wasn't truly emotionless, then this woman would be nothing to fear. Hong Dai paid no attention to the evil dragons formed from Forbidden's artifacts. The moment they attacked, her primordial spirit instantly left her body, and she waved her hands. A blue ripple spread out in an instant. All the Forbidden's artifacts turned into ice statues, falling from midair. She stared at Wang Lin, who was fleeing in the distance, her gaze growing colder. She understood his purpose with a single glance. Originally, his words couldn't shake her Dao heart, but unexpectedly, his understanding was extremely bizarre, capable of giving rise to a glimmer of insight into the cycle of heavenly Dao. In the moment when the 5 snow-capped mountains crashed into the stream, she clearly sensed this life-or-death scene, and a memory unexpectedly flashed through her mind. Although she immediately dispelled that memory, the person added, especially the sentence, "Even if you enter reincarnation, your parents are still following you." As soon as these words were spoken, the memories in Hong Dai's mind became somewhat scattered, and she couldn't help but pause for a moment. Although she immediately eliminated it, she also lost the opportunity to kill the opponent. Just an early-stage nascent soul cultivator, yet he dares to have such intentions, wanting to destroy my Dao heart. This person absolutely cannot be allowed to live. Hong Dai's eyes turned cold, and after recovering, she chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin fled, his right hand grabbing, retracting the thunder cauldron. But the teleportation method of a late-stage nascent soul cultivator was incomparable to that of an early-stage nascent soul cultivator. He hadn't run far when a blast of icy cold air came from behind him. Wang Lin took a deep breath, intending to flee. But suddenly, everything became clear in his mind. He unexpectedly remembered the palm print in the palace on that fragment of the immortal realm. He had tried several times before, but all his attempts had failed. Now, as he fled, that palm print became increasingly clear in his mind. Gradually, he recalled the hand that had crushed the immortal sword and then struck the ground in the illusion he had just encountered. This palm print in the illusion quickly merged with the palm print in the palace. His mind cleared, and Wang Lin's body suddenly soared into the air, straight upwards. Hong Dai chased after him, sneering, thinking to herself, "Whether you run or fly, you can't escape this calamity." High above, Wang Lin suddenly stopped, looking down at the ground. A sudden realization dawned on him, and his right hand unconsciously reached out, striking downwards. Suddenly, the sky darkened, and strange energies from all directions converged. Unexpectedly, a gigantic palm print formed below Wang Lin, striking directly at Hong Dai. For the first time, Hong Dai's expression changed drastically. She wanted to retreat, but the palm print was too large. In an instant, it struck, piercing straight through Hong Dai's body. After hitting the ground, waves of shockwaves erupted. She was momentarily stunned, checking her body and finding nothing unusual. She hadn't expected that Wang Lin's strike just now was merely a momentary burst of enlightenment, only superficially achieving the desired effect, lacking any real offensive power. After unleashing that strike, Wang Lin's entire spiritual power instantly dissipated. Fortunately, due to the influence of the beast realm, he was accustomed to this situation. He immediately consumed a medicinal pill, and without waiting for the pill to fully take effect, he tossed the jade slip, activated the formation, randomly selected a fragment of the immortal realm, and vanished. When Hong Yi looked up, Wang Lin's figure had disappeared. A cold glint appeared in her eyes. "There's a teleportation array. It seems this person's identity is absolutely extraordinary. Moreover, his cultivation methods are exceptional, both meticulous and bold, and he possesses countless magical artifacts. He must be an elite disciple fully nurtured by a 5th-level cultivation nation on the Vermilion Bird Star." Hong Yu's eyes flashed. She remained silent for a moment, then turned and flew into the distance, searching for the immortal realm's energy. Wang Lin had already arrived at another fragment of the immortal realm. He hadn't had time to examine it carefully, so he had chosen one at random, and upon arriving, he couldn't help but be stunned. This place was like a world of fire. Everywhere on the ground was dark red molten rock, and occasionally a bubble would rise and burst, emitting a pungent smell. The sky was pitch black, and occasionally spatial cracks appeared. Wang Lin stood in midair, looking around. This fragment of the immortal realm was clearly different from the previous two. To be precise, this place could shatter at any moment, especially the spatial cracks that occasionally appeared in the sky, like the mouths of demons wanting to devour people, causing fear. Wang Lin raised his eyebrows. He couldn't guess why the Great Lulosec's teleportation array was built in such a treacherous place. Could it be that the more harsh the environment, the more immortal energy there was? While pondering this, Wang Lin flew out of the array. His divine consciousness spread out, doing his best to avoid the spatial rifts, slowly descending. This part of the journey was uneventful, but just as Wang Lin was less than 100 feet from the ground, the spatial rift suddenly appeared right beside him. Wang Lin was extremely frightened. His divine consciousness hadn't detected anything. However, he was no longer a novice cultivator. His reaction was extremely quick. Almost instantly after the rift appeared, he had moved several feet to the side. The rift appeared quickly and disappeared just as fast, seemingly vanishing instantly. Cold sweat broke out on Wang Lin's forehead. He lowered his head and looked at the left side of his clothes, which had been devoured and completely disappeared. He carefully surveyed his surroundings. At this moment, this part of the immortal realm was as dangerous to Wang Lin as when he was in the place of the ancient gods. The appearance of these spatial rifts was too bizarre. It was impossible to detect them early. Wang Lin remained silent for a moment, proceeding cautiously. It took him the time it takes to burn an incense stick to successfully land on the ground. The relative safety of this place was high. Not to mention the spatial rifts, the ground was covered with molten rock, spreading everywhere. But although Wang Lin was cautious, he did not slow down, slowly flying forward. He wanted to see why the Great Lulosec had set up a teleportation array to this place. All around him was a silent void. Only occasionally did a rumbling sound emanate from the ground, or a few bubbles burst in the lava. These sounds echoed in succession, causing an uncontrollable feeling of intense heat within. As he flew, Wang Lin gradually understood the surroundings. This fragment of the immortal realm wasn't large. To be precise, among the 3 fragments of the immortal realm he had encountered, this was the smallest. In the southeast of this fragment of the immortal realm was a large cave on the ground. Apart from that, there was nothing else unusual. After a long while, Wang Lin flew to the top of the cave. He looked down, only to see the inside of the cave pitch black, without a single ray of light. He pondered for a moment, not daring to enter, but instead spent several days carefully exploring this space. After confirming that there was nothing abnormal, he returned to the top of the cave. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and just as he was about to enter, a light suddenly appeared in the sky. A teleportation array appeared in midair. Wang Lin's face lit up with joy. He was hesitating whether to enter this place or not when someone arrived. If someone had gone ahead to pave the way, the danger to him would obviously be greatly reduced. Wang Lin's body then disappeared. At this moment, the teleportation array in midair revealed the figures of 2 people. Both of them carried treasure swords on their backs. After exiting the teleportation array, they said, "Sixth junior brother, this is your first time here. You must pay attention to the spatial rifts around. This place is extremely dangerous. You must be careful." The person beside him quickly bowed in agreement. The 2 carefully and slowly descended, flying towards the large cave. Along the way, several spatial rifts appeared beside them, but both of them quickly detected them, usually avoiding them a moment before the rift appeared. Their journey was uneventful, moving several times faster than Wang Lin's earlier speed, and they soon arrived before the large cave. Both of them were at the early stage of the transformation god realm, so they obviously couldn't detect Wang Lin, whose divine consciousness had reached the late stage of the transformation god realm. "Third senior brother, is this the cave dwelling of the immortal beast from back then?" Sixth junior brother asked, looking at the large cave beneath their feet. "That's right. This is one of the 16 cave dwellings of the immortal beasts in the immortal realm. The founding ancestor only discovered it by chance after several visits to the immortal realm. However, many people know about this place. Last time I came here, I encountered 3 groups of people searching for the spirit beast's essence." Third senior brother nodded. Then, as if remembering something, he added, "After entering this place, you cannot use teleportation, so you must be very careful." As the 2 men spoke, their bodies descended, entering the large cave. Wang Lin's figure appeared outside the cave, flashing and silently following. His divine consciousness spread out, carefully observing the surroundings while staring intently at the 2 men ahead. "Third senior brother, after so many years, is it possible that this immortal beast spirit still remains? Moreover, even if it does, I'm afraid it would be very difficult for the 2 of us to obtain it." Sixth junior brother, You don't understand something. If this immortal beast spirit truly remains, after so many years of lacking immortal energy, it must have weakened to the extreme. If we can find it and bring it back to the sect to nurture, it would be a great achievement. Our founding ancestor also captured a miraculous beast spirit here, and only then did he unify the shield star and establish the prestige of our great Luo sect. Wang Lin listened to their conversation. His heart stirred, and he thought to himself, so this place is the immortal beast's abode in the immortal realm. He listened to their conversation and secretly made a guess. This place must have been where the immortal beasts of the immortal realm lived back then. When the catastrophe occurred, the immortal beasts weren't completely wiped out. Some even hid here. It was for this reason that a teleportation array was set up here. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he followed the two. The cave wasn't very deep. Soon, the two brothers reached the heart of the cave and immediately moved forward. Wang Lin's divine sense swept across, and he was secretly astonished. The bottom of this cave was a very large cavern, densely packed with small cave entrances on all sides. He pondered for a moment, then flew towards one of the entrances. That was the place where the two brothers had entered. While flying, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly froze. His divine sense detected a large stone statue, about 10 meters tall, more than 100 feet away from the two brothers. This statue depicts a bird with enormous wings. That year, our ancestor found this immortal beast right here. Junior brother, you protect me while I gather the immortal energy. Upon hearing this, junior brother Lu quickly pointed his finger at the treasured sword behind him. The sword immediately flew up and circled above his head. He carefully observed his surroundings, ready to act at the slightest sign of movement. Senior brother then looked at his junior brother with satisfaction, took a deep breath, and, using some unknown divine power, suddenly had veins bulging on his hands. He let out a low shout and suddenly placed his hands on the statue. A rumbling sound erupted, and the statue slowly moved to one side. The man's face turned pale. He retreated a few steps, his hands changing into a magical incantation. A strong gust of wind immediately arose, blowing against the stone statue. The statue moved slightly, revealing a black hole about the size of a fist. A wisp of immortal energy emanated from within. The man immediately potted his storage bag, producing a small green gourd. The immortal energy was instantly absorbed by the gourd. 6 junior brother, our harvest this time isn't bad. This immortal energy is enough to condense to crystals. You get one, I get one, we fulfill the sect's minimum requirement. Third senior brother laughed heartily, slowly placing his hands on the stone sculpture and gently moving it back to its original position.